start folks being trained up there. And they open up for lunch and stuff like that. It's right on the river.
Wow.
And it's like maybe 5 minutes to West Point.
Okay.
That's just something to think about.
Well, we're hopefully going to hook up with the Ricketts.
Okay, yeah, they live
Yeah. Rick, Kenyans too.
Thank you, Randy. But it is, so most of them. But you want to see the kids and everything, all the preliminary stuff has basically been done. Whatever. Yeah.
Decided it's able to gift them.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you leave and then I'll add in with him. Okay.
Anyway, it's good.
You know, oh, no, not at all. Okay, it's back to square one.
I've always believed there's no such thing as a bad kid. A lot of shitty parents. So,
She's pretty in the and she's intelligent. And just as intelligent. Once they go away, that's it.
I just said. Hates the neighborhood. Hates the neighborhood outside.
lead your life that way. That's the way you want to lead your life.
He's 82 years old, and he gave me a list of all his ailments, everything from stage 4 kidney disease. He's got.
And how many pills you take?
The only person he likes is his
Look. We all have a bad day. But to have a bad day.
Thank you very much. He's into the decades and decades.
You're welcome. I hate bringing him around the computers, but
It's life is too short for this stuff.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, of course it is. But it's not just about me. It's about this board's responsibility because I harp on the facilities committee about it. Okay. All right.
Okay, I think we're ready. I am going to turn on the recorder. The time is now 9:30 a.m. I am going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today's Monday, July 12th, 2021. First item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Rich Bracco, Steve Kleinglass, Richard McCafferty, and Ernest Booker.
Are these yours?
On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. We also have Scott Brizendine present. On behalf of District Council, we have Regina Kordash. District Engineer Rick Schoppager is present. Denise Payton, General Manager of the River Club, is present. Field Manager Keith Livermore is present. We also have Brian Schwab, Field Services Manager, present, along with representatives of L&P, and I did see Roy Deary from Vesta. Good morning. The next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda, but before we move into public comment, we ask that everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remove your hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Belinda, before we start, has Carl gotten through because he tells me he can't get on?
I don't see that he's connected. It's a dial-in number with a code. Can you call him and assist, Keith?
I sent him the code.
Here's the number. It's the first one up on top.
And we do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, so we can
Okay.
proceed. So the next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person. Our first speaker is Tyler Cassell. Mr. Cassell?
Hi, good morning. I'm going to speak loudly so you can hear me, and I'll tell you, I'm encouraged. And the reason I'm encouraged is because my last words to the board 2 months ago was I said that you guys should create a mission statement. And I see that's in the VISTA report. So I know that somebody's hearing me. It's hard to talk in a one-way dialogue here because I don't know if anybody hears us or not, because you don't answer. So I'm encouraged by that. And that's good. And I hope you do, and I'd like to see what it says. I also see that the pickleball is back on the schedule, which is good. But I have to tell you, from looking at the space that you guys want to put the 3 courts in out there, not going to work. So why is it going to work? Well, how big do pickleball courts have to be? You know, I know. They're 20 wide by 40 long. They need a space of 30 wide and 60 long, or they need even a little bit more, which is 34 wide and 64 long. You don't have the space. How do I know? I took my tape measure out there the other day and I measured little blocks along the road, okay? You don't have the space. You got another problem. You got a drainage right in the middle of there. That's a major construction project there. So anyway, I would encourage you guys to, as I did a couple of meetings ago, talk to the city about the new park that's coming in. I gave you the people's contacts. It's James Clinch and it's Jennifer Gordon. Talk to them about the new park that's coming in. We, the BGRC, we're a major stakeholder in that park. You know, we're bigger than Vicenza, we're bigger than Milano, we're bigger than Willow Chase, we're bigger than Aria, we're bigger than Cielo. We are the major stakeholder in that park. We should be talking to them like we are the major stakeholder in that park. Get a conversation open with them. Tell them we want 6 pickleball courts for Sandra, Nick, and the other people who want to play pickleball. Tell me we want 8 pickleball courts. Tell me we want a beautiful dog park. Tell me we want benches and shade and restrooms and all the things that we can't put in here. Get a conversation going. We're the big stakeholder there. We should be talking to them. Okay? So, anyway, I don't know how you're going to look at the pickleball discussion today, but there's no dimensions on the diagram that I looked at. There's dimensions for how many visitors from there and so on and so on. There's no dimensions of the courts or how much space there is.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Tyler, if you hang around for our engineer's report, I think you'll get a lot of your questions answered. This is not our first rodeo with thinking about putting the pickleball courts out here. It's the best we can do. So our engineer is here, and he's going to be giving a report in a little while. Also, just for your own information, you may not know this, but one of our residents is heavily involved in that park, and the city has promised this for a number of years. You're a relatively new resident here. For at least the last 15, they've been talking about this park. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in the next several years. It's going to happen.
We also have 2 council members.
Thanks a lot.
And we can move forward on that.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
yeah. My wife is the next one. She is going to see her time to me.
Okay.
Okay. So, topic number 2. And that is, I read the VESTA report. My biggest takeaway on that, I have 2 comments. The first comment is, wow. The second comment is, oh my God. $350,000 we're losing. $350,000. So how do we plug the hole? How do we plug the hole on the food and everything here in the dining room? It's easy. It's easy to plug the hole. You get better food. Some comments from my neighbors on why they don't come to the River Club are, no, I don't go there because we make the food at home. We make better food at home. We went there a couple of times. We've been disappointed by the menu. Nothing appeals to us. No, we'd rather go to a restaurant. Take a drop. We only go there once in a while, or we cook, or go downtown, or we take takeout from one of our favorite restaurants. No, we don't go there because our favorite food is Italian food. There's no Italian items on the menu. What's the most popular food in the country? Italian food. There are no Italian dishes on the menu. We have a lot of Cubans and Spanish here in Florida. There's none of those items on the menu. There are no Southern dishes. Chef Tim and his resume says he specializes in Southern cooking. There are no Southern cooking items on the menu. So let's write up the descriptions differently. Salmon my way is not going to bring me up to the River Club to eat. It's not appealing. A steak and cheese wrap for dinner, that's a lunch item. A Reuben for dinner, that's a lunch item. $36 for sea bass? No thanks, I'll go to Finn's. I'll go to one of the big restaurants and do it better. Remodeling is something you shouldn't even consider until you redo the food and you get people coming for the food. Why? Because food is the generator of the money to do any remodel. My wife and I went to the Sawgrass Golf Club over in Ponte Verde, okay, Ponte Verde Beach. It's on the Players Club. Beautiful place. Walk through the dining room. It's just like this. You can see outside. The rugs are just about the same. The chandelier is about the same. The place was packed. Why was it packed? The food is good. We ate outside. We ate good food. I ordered a BLT. Boring, right? It came out on a ciabatta bread. It came out with their own potato chips in a little metal bucket. It had a nice presentation. It was good.
Tyler, I'm sorry, but you are running out of time, and we
Okay.
have to continue.
I would go back there. There's no reason for people to come here. Give them a reason to come here. Get the people and to procure the money.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Carl Schwarba, now in the meeting.
Good morning, Carl. The
Morning,
record
Carl.
indicate that Carl Schorba has
Morning.
joined us via phone. Before we move forward with public comments, supervisors, in order for Carl to participate, we would need a motion to allow Carl to participate and vote via phone.
I'll
So
make that
moved.
motion.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Ernest. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Carl, can you hear me okay?
I can, Belinda.
Okay,
Trying to
perfect.
look through my VCD Outlook email to find the meeting notification.
Okay,
Or you, I mean, the agenda with the attachments is what I'm trying to find.
okay. I'll send Carrie a message so she can email it to you as a PDF. Okay, moving forward with public comment, our next speaker is Jill Pizarnik. Jill?
Are you okay if am I loud enough? And is it okay for, yeah, for everybody to use this?
Oh,
Oh,
if you
is
want
there-
to.
okay, no, I'm fine. I really want to focus on the Vesta report in my 3 minutes. I'm very optimistic, for my own set of reasons. I think that the report was really comprehensive, and frankly, it spoke to the reasons why my husband Tom and I moved here about 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago, because I think, you know, we all know what the assets are, the community, here in the community, but I think Vesta did a really good job of recognizing what those assets are, and I think it was pretty aspirational. So I think now comes the hard part. So, you know, my first comments would be to the folks from Vesta who are here. Yeah, I really want to thank you very much for obviously put a whole lot of, not just thought, but obviously your experience in working with other districts into the report and sharing that with us. I think it's helpful for us going forward. I think it's also important that you hear a bit more from the residents. So whether that's a survey or open houses or both, you know better than I do, but I think that'll be an important component. And then finally, I'm a believer in quick wins, and if you think that there's some appropriate quick wins you could get so that the residents can see how you operate going forward, I think that'll benefit everybody, the board, the residents, and also Vesta. So that concludes what I wanted to say to Vesta. I think to the board, I have sort of 3 things I want to say. We need a roadmap. Residents are thirsty for a roadmap. Ernest, you and I talked about master plans in towns in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And without a roadmap, it becomes difficult to achieve what you need to achieve with the amount of money that you have. And I think, frankly, residents are thirsty for a vision. I know when I was running for a seat last fall, my sense from every single meeting I was at, that people really are thirsty for a roadmap. But to do that, I think we need clear goals. You need to establish the goals because that's your job as the board, and that will also allow Vesta to do what they need to do to give them the best chance of success. So finally, I think, you need to let them work, and this is something, I'm going to apologize in advance, I guess, for ending on a somewhat down note, but I think one of the points made in the report was that the lines at times have been blurred between River Club management and the board, and I think that's one of the reasons why you've gotten a lot of emails from residents complaining, and unfortunately, I think doing so has at times condoned things that shouldn't have been condoned. So, there are a couple of remarks in the Vesta report, for example, about, perhaps there are times when residents are not put first. And I think that has to change. So, and I think that will change if you let Vesta do their work. So please just let them do the work that you hired them to do. And I think we're destined for greatness. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
There being no further speakers, we're going to close out public comment at this time and move on with our agenda. The next item on the agenda is item number 3A, which is the district engineer staff report. We do have the discussion regarding the proposed alternative construction location for the pickleball courts. This is behind tab number 1. Supervisor Booker, would you like to speak on this, or would you like to just let Rick?
Well, I would like Rick to go ahead with his presentation, but I would just say that the whole purpose of locating a pickleball operations within the confines of this community is for convenience, as well as the fact that it will enhance property values here, I would see in the long run. I've researched other locations, be it with the city, be it outside or gates next to the fire station and other locations. And it's not going to happen anytime soon, as the chairperson said. Pickleball is in overwhelming demand here. It's the fastest growing sport in these types of communities of our type. Next to the tennis location, it's compatible. I don't see that many obstacles to it, and the engineer, who's the professional who has been tasked with working this out, I rely upon his expertise as well as this board. So Rick, if you would.
Before you move on, Rick, we were saddened to learn of the passing of the former chair of the pickleball committee, Jack Wilson. He passed recently, and we did want to extend our condolences to Jack's family and our prayers to his children and grandchildren.
Can we have a moment of silence? Can we have a moment of silence? Just
I think we should.
We can. So we're going to observe a moment of silence in honor of Jack Wilson. Thank you. Audience members, as a reminder, please silence your phone throughout the duration of the meeting. Go ahead, Rick.
thanks, Rick.
Okay, yeah, Jack was very instrumental in everything that he has done. I mean, he's very helpful. He's going to be greatly missed by all. In your agenda, there is the pickleball for out here right next to the tennis, the courts. We played around with, I think, 9 different options to try to fit something in for up here. It looks like the best option what we have is these three courts. These are 30 by 60 the courts. They will fit nicely. You can see that we got the sidewalk to get the access. We did trim off the little the corner for each of them, and that's where the gate is going to be for the access. So the 30 by 60 is when you look at the pickleball standards, they say a 30 by 60 is a perfectly acceptable. They like the 34 by 64. I've watched many people play pickleball. Very seldom do they move outside of the court. So, there's not a lot of players that really need the extra space. So 30 by 60 seems to work almost everywhere. We actually started with this kind of a thought. And then when the pickleball committee got together, they were the ones that come back and said, we need 4 courts. So we couldn't squeeze 4 in the area. We talked about going across the parking lot to the south, and that's right next to the house over there. And it just didn't work. We would have lost way too many spaces. In the current spot there, we would be losing 13 spaces.
13 parking spots.
Now, if you looked at the city plans for the River Club, the required parking is 80 spaces. The provided parking is 123. So based upon that, the city will have no issue with us taking out the spaces. This will require the PUD amendment and then also the site plan. So it'll be 2 public meetings once again. With mud, most of the area is impervious. So the amount of pervious that we would be impacting would not trigger a swift mud permit. It would be a permit exemption. So there should be really no issues with the swift mud with this site. What you're looking at there, the one court, it does have a minor impact to the vegetation, the buffers. If you looked along Bella Vista, there's a lot of utilities. So that's, I'm trying to avoid them. The storm box that is out there, you could see that I split the distance between the east court. I kind of pushed it off. So that pipe would run under the middle court just a little bit. No big deal. I mean, you park over it now, so it's no big deal whatsoever. So that's.
Will that drain have to be moved?
No, it will not have to be moved. No. So that seems like to me the best layout. We strategically placed them north to south because if you read, they don't want the courts east to west because of the sun. Because we did try one option to rotate the one, but it's just not desirable. So that's what we come up with. And if you want us to move forward, we did have a survey done of the area, which got most of that. I don't really think that we need an additional survey. We didn't pick up the east side, but we've got probably 85% of the survey done. And just by looking at what's out there, I don't think I need the survey. So I think we've got all of the stuff that we need to move forward. So at this time, we would just need direction on, do we move forward? Do we reconvene the committee and start from there? Part of the city's requirements is going to be a public meeting like we had previously. So I don't know how you want to move forward, but just wanted to lay out what we've got and where we're at for right now.
As I've said before, I think that this initial plan was probably the best plan, simply because it kept all the sports amenities in one place, rather than here and there. Easier to supervise. We don't need parking. We have water. We have bathrooms. We have many of the issues that were presented to us by both the Planning Commission and ultimately by the City Council. I think that this plan is probably the best way to go. we're gonna use the same sound mitigation that we were gonna use elsewhere around this, because I anticipate,
Totally up to you guys.
well, I anticipate some pushback from the tennis folks who don't want to hear the noise, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just anticipating we're gonna hear that at a public meeting. We have some tennis people here today, but I anticipate the tennis people are gonna say, well, it's noisy, it's this, it's that, which we may hear from some of my neighbors on Portofino. So I think the sound mitigation has to stay. I think the things that we spoke about in terms of landscaping need to stay. And my opinion is that we should move forward with this.
Mr. Chairman, most importantly, for the residents, we do have the money. Okay, that's the most important issue. Also, we have members of our committee here, Sandy Nick, Jack Challenger of the Racket Sports Committee, also one of our premier players, Pat Apollonia here, all in support. And I think this is a win-win situation for the community, and we do have the money.
Rick, I do have a question. Can you talk a little bit about the potential impact on the houses on Bella Vista? And as the chairman said, the houses on Portofino, from your looking at this?
Well, as we went through the process and we looked at what the sound, the major issue, previous to you coming onto the board, we actually had a CDD meeting, and we paused it to go out there, and we did a little demonstration, and they had pickleball, the paddles, and they had the balls, and I had the sound meter, and we checked the decibels standing right next to the players, and I was reading 55. And then the tennis courts, when I walked over to them, I was reading 65. And just to kind of tell you how that relates, during the public meeting we had, Mr. Parati was coming in at 80 decibels. So he was quite.
Right, that's why I'm asking. It's been all over the place. Yeah. So the bottom line, from your professional opinion, they could be placed here. The sound impact is really not an issue, from your opinion at least.
If we included the sound barriers, that reduces it, they say, by roughly 10 decibels. And then we're going to have vegetation, right, which is even going to increase that as well. So,
and the distance from the closest court to a home is about how far? About?
I didn't measure it,
What do you
but
think?
I mean, you've got at least a 50-foot right of way on Bella Vista. So I'd probably say 100 feet.
Okay. To the front of the property, not to the front of the property.
Front.
Okay. And so people that are in those properties, they would sit out on the lanai on the backside of their property. Is that correct?
Bella Vista?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that even impacts it more. Okay. I want that to be clear, because if we're going to get into a debate here about it's too much noise, well, that's a non-value debate, it seems.
I think we should just be prepared for it, that's all.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
why
you.
I'd favor the sound mitigation, the landscaping to be included in the plan. So my feeling is that we should go ahead with it.
Okay. And just one last point. The 150 feet, or whatever that dimension is that more or less than what the distance would have been in the other location?
The other one, the closest spot was 90. So
this has got more distance.
I believe so,
Okay.
but I've not done the measurement, but I believe
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
And there's no water involved here for carrying of the sound, whereas there is a lake down off
That's correct.
Medici.
Mr. Chairman, it's Carl. I have a couple of questions for Rick.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay, great job with the racket committee, Supervisor Booker, and you, Rick. I'm getting this done. When I noticed this, and this would not impact a vote on my part to move forward, I noticed that most of the accessible parking spots are now gone. But you said we need a minimum of 80, and how many do we have?
123.
Okay. And so I know we're gonna go to public meetings. And one of the reasons people want to go to pickleball is they don't move as quickly, or their joints move as fast, whatever. So my question is there a possibility of just putting the 2 courts in and jiggering this around so there's a few additional parking spots? Those could be for handicap only if you want.
We actually, one of the options we had done, we tried to squeeze in 2 courts, and we would have left the parking lot that is immediately, the parking spaces immediately adjacent to the tennis. Now, my challenge with that is we're taking out almost all of the landscape buffer by trying to squeeze that in to keep those parkings.
Well, I think you'll get, with the public meetings, fairly clear direction. And Rick, what do you see as the timeline? Because you know we have to go to the city of Venice again. Approximately how far are we out with, let's say, public meetings in the VCDD and the Venice City Council to move forward?
Yeah, I think right now we're talking about what we need to do to go forward. If the board wants to move forward, I didn't know if the board wanted to get the public involved with this, if there's another committee to come back, or if we just wanted to go straight to schedule that public meeting that is required by the city, and we could have that just here at the next, well, not at the next, but we probably have it at a CDD meeting. Probably the earliest we could get that is a month out or so. But I would probably recommend we would go to that as soon as we can, if we're not going to reach out and do the survey or whatnot with the community.
I think we've done a lot of surveys. I think Supervisor Booker would agree. I think we would all agree. So I would leave it up to Chairman Rocco and our legal counsel of how we can proceed, because I see, from my vantage point, no reason to hold this up.
What that would require by the city is I would have to look at their maps, and we must invite to send a letter to anybody within 250 feet of the parcel. I haven't really looked at the parcel. I'm kind of hoping that doesn't mean that's the entire community, but it possibly could. So that's what I have to look at, but we would have to put together the package and have to mail that out.
Thank you, Rick.
What about lights? We had specifically eliminated lights at the old location, but there are lights on the tennis courts. Would there be lights on the pickleball courts?
That's totally up to you guys.
We can get a price on it.
Pardon me?
We'll get a price on it possibly when we get a bid. But the pickleball committee had done its work some months ago, a couple of years ago. I don't know if there's a need to reconvene a committee. The board has plenty of information on this. I, again, would, unless there's more discussion, I would make a recommendation that we proceed with the plan as presented here and make sure all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
Rick brought up a very good point. Do I want to show lighting on that plan?
Well, currently, how often do we use the lights on the tennis courts?
Not all night long.
Hardly, never, never. So what are we talking about? Okay, common sense, we don't need them.
I see those lights on quite often.
Yeah,
I don't see
they're not all
people
night
playing.
long.
Never. The lights
I
are
don't
on
see
quite a bit.
people playing.
But why are the lights on?
Right.
Well, we'll reduce that deficit then.
Well, why are we having one standard for the tennis court with lights and not the same standard for pickleball? I'm asking.
We could always show them on the plan and then decide at one time or another as we go through, because if we don't show them on the plan and we go through the city process, you'll never be able to get them unless we go back through.
Show them on the
So
plan.
we could show them on the plan and then we could decide on whether or not you even want to have them, or if we put them in, you could come up with hours to say, we're not gonna play during certain times.
It may be required for the city's site plan process for you to show if you're going to include lighting.
Right.
Especially if you're gonna have to run electrical and all that, I would
Yeah.
imagine that that's gonna be part of your permitting process.
I think that's
Yeah.
very likely the case. So I think we should show it. And anything else that you think would apply, be it benches or this or that, that we have it on the plan. Now, we can pick and choose later on. We're gonna pull that out for whatever the reason may be, but we need to get it approved with all the bells and whistles.
I don't know if the city would be picky about any benches or some tables. There is a spot that we could throw some, but I don't know if that's a requirement.
Okay.
Right now to show that, but I could always just cloud it and say proposed.
Proposed seating, something like that.
Right.
Whatever. It's fine.
Okay.
I second the chairman's motion to move forward with this and with whatever we have to do from the city, et cetera.
Thank you, Carl, but it was a recommendation. We need you to modify that motion, though. There's a couple of steps involved. So the
Okay.
first thing would be a motion to direct staff to move forward with the pickleball courts planning as presented in the modified plan that was presented by the district engineer. We also need the board to direct staff to move forward with the proper notices that need to be sent out to schedule a public meeting. And we also need a date for that public meeting. Given that we're still not sure as to how many notices have to be sent out, we also have to have advertising as well. I would suggest that we hold that meeting on August 26th
That's gonna be a busy day because of budget. Can we
because
push
of
it?
our budget,
Can we
yes.
push it to September?
Yes,
We
September.
can push it to September 6th. Actually, no, we don't have a meeting on September 6th, that's Labor Day.
Make it the second meeting in September.
So the 13th of September.
Great.
Yeah, I recommend that.
Okay, Rich, do you want to make that motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Carl? Any further
Second.
discussion?
Sorry.
It's okay. All those in favor, please state aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
thank you, Rick.
Okay, now
Thanks, Rick.
to just kind of go hand in hand with that, Denise and I have been working on a storage shed for this building, being right here on the south side. I reached out to the city. They are going to require a site and development plan amendment for that. And Roger Clark anticipates this to also be included in a public meeting. Did you want me to show that on that plan as well at the same time?
Might as well. Let's save time.
Okay. And again, if there's some issues with that, I'm sure at the meeting, we could just say, okay, if there's objections that are gonna fight, we could probably delete stuff during the meeting.
Let's put it all together in one.
We need a motion, right, for that?
Yes, we should.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we include that in the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Keith sent me the email last week. The resident at 266 Montaluna has requested the CDD trim some trees. I looked at the property behind them. Part of it is on Common Area 26, which was deeded to the CDD. The other part is a golf course, so I'm not exactly sure if the trees are CDD land or golf course land.
One is CDD, two is golf course.
Okay, and again, in the past, if the tree is healthy, you know, there's really no requirement that you must trim them. The resident has the right to trim vertically in the property line. So I just wanted to throw that out because I don't know, because I mean, Keith indicated that several years ago, something was done by somebody, but I have no records of that in my file, so I don't know who did.
And that was just told to me by the homeowner. That CDD did one tree and the golf course did the other. When I talked to the golf course, Matt doesn't remember ever touching those trees.
Well, he's only here for 2 years, so he wouldn't know. That was Mike Myers who was involved at that point. What kind of trees are these?
Oh,
And what do they want to do, lift them?
Yeah,
I trim all the way around them, yeah.
because
Why? Aesthetics, view?
Yeah, both.
That's gonna cost us, right?
I think we're on a
Slippery slope.
very slippery slope here. We're gonna be trimming every tree in the community. I'd say, no.
But what I was trying to do was just verify who owns the land, and that's what, because it was kind of jumbled up right there, so.
is there any prohibition if that resident wants to pay for it himself or herself with a private vendor to do it?
It's not their property.
In other communities, we've seen that happen a bunch, and typically though, what the process would be, and then Andy would definitely say, you know, let the CDD take charge of that, but then the resident will reimburse for that work.
So the resident has an option, should the resident want to pursue it further.
That's correct. Now, if the tree was dead and possibly going to fall,
That's
then
different
there's some
story.
liability. But if it's a healthy tree, then there is really no liability there.
And like Rick said, the homeowner can vertically at his property line. Trim it down.
All right, so if they want to trim we'll do it at their expense. Fine.
Okay, last thing, just quickly, radar reports. We could definitely see that we're in the summer months because the average vehicles per day coming up Benito dropped from just about 70,000 a month to 56,000. The average speed is still 29 to 30 miles per hour. On Pissarro, the average speed 30 miles per hour. We dropped from 34,000 to 29,000. Padova, the average speed is 23 to 24, and that one, the average per month is just under 23,000. And that's all I have.
Don't go. Should I assume that the dog park is a moot point moving forward?
At this point, we have no location available for a dog park.
We have looked.
I'm fine with that. I just
Yeah.
want there to be some clarity
Tried.
amongst us.
We tried.
Okay,
It's not part of racket sports.
okay, we're done. We're done.
We've looked,
We're
and
fine.
the only land that the CDD owns is very limited. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, Rick-
WCI built every square inch they possibly could. for
I
housing.
think we've got a good outcome to a lousy situation that we were faced with, and I'm happy. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Any other questions for Rick?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Supervisors, moving forward, the next item on the agenda is item number 4A, which is the consideration of the proposals for a financial advisor. This is behind tab number 2 for your review.
Could I explain just a few things?
Sure, there were 4 proposals that were received. I'm going to turn it over to the chairman so that he can go over the process and what has taken place.
You had 4 proposals in your package, and
I can hear you, Rich.
there are 4 proposals in your package, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a look at them. The Finance Committee interviewed all 4 companies, 1 in person, 3 online. And then after that, we considered all of the proposals, and we're going to make a recommendation this morning that Craig be employed as our financial advisor. Let me just tell you very quickly the Reader's Digest version of what's going to happen here. We have about $14 million worth of bonds. The first call on those bonds is in May of 22, so we're a little less than a year out. And a couple of things could happen. We could, based on what the financial advisor recommends, issue new bonds. We could, those bonds could be taxable or tax-free. So there's 2 choices there. And the third choice is we can pursue a bank loan and in the amount of the outstanding bonds, which, as I say, is about $14 million. And we looked into the possibility with all of these companies with possibly a 15-year bank loan. So currently, the bonds would not expire or be due for 20 years. We could reduce the term if we could get a bank loan in the amount of about $15 or $14 million. So that's what we're looking at. But though we have a tremendous amount of experience on the committee, we feel that a financial advisor is the way to go to direct us further and put us on the correct path. And Jerry Jasper is here as a member of the Finance Committee. And Jerry, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just might add that basically the fees.
Jerry.
That the fees of the 4 companies coming in were between $20,000 and $40,000. Right. So that in this big scheme of things, I think after you look at that was really not a deciding factor. Each of these firms had their own little niche, and the one we selected we felt was best for our needs. And at this time, I would like to introduce Wendell Gettner. He is representing Prague, and I doubt if you have any questions after going through the attachments to your agenda, but in case you do, I'm sure Wendell will be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I've never had to do a presentation where everybody said everything first. So I am here if you have any questions. I think Mr. Rocco is right. You do have a number of choices coming up. The thing to keep in mind is because your bonds aren't callable until May of 2022, you can't, under current tax law, issue new tax-exempt bonds that close before the end of January. Right. The IRS only lets you lose 3 months. In the past, there were opportunities to do that in advance. They're talking about potentially reinstating that as part of some of the infrastructure. So that's the other thing to watch. If that happens, it may be possible to issue tax-exempt bonds earlier. Otherwise, we'll do the analysis of, do we issue taxable bonds now and at least lock in a rate, or do we wait and do tax exempts as we get closer? And the thing that we'll be doing once we get hired is starting that analysis. We have another CDD that we have bank loan RFPs out for right now. We expect to get responses in the next 2 weeks, and that's going to give us some real-time guidance as to what banks are looking for, how far out they're going, what they like to see. So we appreciate the opportunity.
Could you just explain to everyone the Cinderella law, which I found very interesting?
Sure,
and I think
there's something
everyone
called
else
a Cinderella bond. And originally they said it was called that because it really doesn't exist and it's a fairy tale. But we have actually done some in the past. Both banks are offering it. Bond underwriters do it a little bit, although it's tougher for a bond underwriter to do it. The one that we did for Pinellas County, it's called a Cinderella because we issue taxable bonds now. And then on the call, or 90 days before that call date, we actually reissue those bonds as tax exempt at a fixed interest rate. So that is another option for the banks. The real benefit there is you can start to see some interest rate savings right away instead of waiting. You're so close that I'm not sure that makes sense, but that's another option that we would look at. So I enjoy this stuff. There's a lot of different things to do, and it's what I've been doing my entire adult life. So.
What are the interest rates difference between bonds and the bank loan? Can you? I know it's hard to predict, but
well, there's not, in general, the rate on bonds, which are kind of primarily a retail driven, even though they're really driven by bond funds, it's retail investors. And retail tax rates obviously are in the 30% range. As a corporation, banks pay a 21% rate. So they tend to pay a not quite as low of an interest rate as a bond, but it's much, much cheaper to put it together. You're not hiring bond underwriters, you're not paying for ratings, you're not preparing official statements for investors. So it becomes a trade-off of how big is it, how much are the upfront costs versus the savings, and that's an analysis we do regularly. I think the issue on banks is they like to stay short. 10 years is kind of their sweet spot. 15 years is one that a lot of them do. Once you get out to a 20-year bank loan, there's very few banks that are offering that product because we're looking for a fixed rate for that 15 to 20-year period.
and the savings to the community, $200,000-$300,000 a year, approximately.
Approximately.
Significant.
Yeah, that's what a body thing was.
Mr. Chairman, it's Carl. May I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
All right. Some of our residents have paid off their bonds. You could say good for them, but I don't know how changing the structure affects them, those people who have paid off their bonds ahead of time.
It doesn't. The bonds are only secured by the assessments that are outstanding, and homeowner has the opportunity to pay it off anytime they want under Florida law.
Carl, just for your own information, the committee looked into that. That question came up as we were interviewing the 4 companies, and 1,377 homes. There are 7 homeowners that have paid off their bonds, and it would be no savings to them. It's not like people are getting a rebate. That's not what's happening here. We are renegotiating the bonds that exist. So if you've paid off the bonds, you know it's not going to affect them. There's going to be no money back.
Rich, this is scary. I think you're reading my mind at night.
That's very scary, Carl.
Yeah. Sir, where is your firm located?
Our office is in St. Petersburg.
And your fee?
Our fee is $25,000.
Yeah.
I wish I'd.
They were the only one with a
It's
flat
capped.
fee.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Wanna make
capped
sure.
very.
Yeah.
Want to make sure.
Again, the vetting process that was done by the finance committee was really quite complete, and everybody had a half an hour to present, and then we got together afterwards and we discussed everything, and we decided that, is it Prague or Prague?
It's Prague.
Prague, okay. That Prague offered the best package for us based on our current situation, and based on their track record. I believe Scott has had some experience with the company, and they come highly recommended, and I feel very good about having them lead us in this direction.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with them. They have an extremely professional reputation in the field, and it serves as our benefit to have someone of their stature doing this deal for us.
I'll move approval that we accept the
Okay,
recommendation.
I'll make a recommendation then that we approve Prague as our financial advisor and move forward with looking into what we can do with these bonds, whether we're going to reissue bonds or whether we're going to get a bank loan or what we're going to do.
I second.
Is that the proper motion.
Actually, no.
Okay,
Let's
that's-
modify that motion.
Yes.
The motion would be to engage the services of track,
Mhm.
subject to review of the agreement and preparation of an addendum possibly by district council.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Well, no, thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming today. Really appreciate you being
Jerry, did
here.
you have anything you wanted to add?
No, that's fine.
Thanks.
Okay. Scott, is there anything you wanted to add?
Read this till 1 o'clock last night.
Didn't have to, I was at the meeting.
lot of stuff.
Okay, so moving forward, we do have item number 4B, which is the discussion regarding the River Club and CDD reserve accounts. We did send via email a copy of a worksheet that Jerry Jasper prepared. I'm not sure if everybody has it, or I brought copies just in case.
I'll have to look for it. You said it was sent out to the supervisor.
Yes, do you need me to resend it to you, Carl?
Please, thank you.
This comes again from the Finance Committee.
I'm good. I have it.
I have it, thank you. Comes from the Finance Committee, and all it does, many times at our meetings, the question comes up, where are we taking that from? Taking it from reserves. How much do we have in reserves? And then Belinda does her magic on the computer, and she comes up with a number. What this does is break down our reserve accounts into two accounts, one for the general fund and one for the River Club. It's not doing anything except making it a little more black and white for everybody to see. So Jerry put together this worksheet, and I think he did a very, very good job with it. Do you want to explain anything else, Jerry?
As we all know, in the past, we have capital items come up. What do we do? Well, we go look and see how much surplus we got in our operating funds, and that's always the question. And then we have to, well, we'll check that the next meeting and so on. Basically, what the committee felt is, let's take those surplus funds, and let's also look at what we call non-reoccurring costs in our operating budgets, which basically are used for capital purchases each year, and set aside and take those funds and put them basically into reserve funds, for capital reserve funds, not replacement reserve like our present, but capital reserve funds for capital purchase, such as pickleball courts, such as the shed we were just talking about. And in doing that, basically, and also we actually had in our operating fund, we had pulled $175,000 for pickleball dog courts. As you'll see here, for this analysis, I put that back, but those funds are available. So as it ends up right here in today, not assuming that our budgets for the present fiscal year break even, and they have been coming in, so there could be more surplus. But on this basis, we'd have about $255,000 of seed money in our general capital fund and $325,000 in our River Club capital fund. So going into the future, you know, then it'll be up to the board how this fund's supplemented and financed. But this can all be done even though this year, because even though the trim budget has been approved, because it doesn't change the final assessment amount. It just moves the numbers around. So the committee recommends this, and I think it'll take a lot of the guesswork out of discussions on future capital items.
It's just a simpler way to see where the reserve monies are. And of course, they can go from one to the other.
Well, there can be, as we have, there can be loans between, but we got to be very careful because the basis of assessment for the two funds are different. The golf course and the welcome center gets assessed basically for the general fund, but not the River Club fund. So that's why you have to have two separate funds. You can't mix them. but one fund can lend.
Can lend money to the other, so that's all it does.
So you feel this is prudent as we go forward, and looking at future contributions to these funds?
Yeah, look, I think, there again, and then here the question's gonna come up probably once your bond resale is, well, okay, what, there you got a balance of savings. I think it'll be up to the board supervisors. How do you use that balance? Obviously, you want to take a look at residents, obviously get a savings from this. Do you use this for the replacement reserve funding, a portion of it, or for capital? You got a lot of options. So basically, normally what you would have to do if you have any capital expenditures, if you didn't have these surplus funds, you go out and get a loan or you sell bonds. Well, luckily you got some seed money here to start, so you don't have to do that.
Okay.
Jerry, in a last capital asset reserve study that was done, there was discussion in there about our funding levels in reserve. And if I'm right, that was at the poor level.
We've never had a capital asset reserve fund. You're
No,
talking
no.
about a replacement to reserve funds, the ones that exist. They're two different things.
Okay, so that's,
Unfortunately, sometimes our reserve fund was used as a capital. But in my feelings with that was not correct, but that's to replace capital we already have.
okay.
Basically, yes, we'll be looking at that right now. We are dangerously, I would call, low here shortly. There's been a lot of reasons. The road, our road situation, the oil leaks, when we had to reevaluate all that, we moved all up that replacement. That caused a big thing. Actually, as we go out into the future years, it's stuck. Now, people will say, well, it's not 100% funded. It's never 100% funded. It shouldn't.
Of course not.
But actually, we were looking at previously up in, 40, 50%. And if you take a look right now, it's future years, but
Yeah.
this road works as far as that really took a hit on that.
Well, the good, perhaps one of the good things that'll come out is that will be looked at and will be adequately reserved better than we are now.
We looked there, yes, right. That will be looked at. This, the cure, a portion of this may be, not this, but the.
One reason why I'm so interested in this, we talk a lot about what our home values and we're going to build this to enhance it. To me, the bigger deal is how will we reserve adequately if I'm going to move here so that I don't get hit with a big assessment when time comes.
Actually, for the reserve committee, that was the next big thing on our agenda.
Good.
The bonds came along. They're time driven. And so basically it moved, the analysis moved up in front, but that will be our next big step, is looking at the replacement reserves.
Thank you.
So, are there any other questions from the supervisors about creating these two operating funds? If not, I'll make a recommendation that we move forward with this and establish these two funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments? Okay, let's call it then.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Rick, I didn't hear you.
I said aye. Jerry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Supervisors, thank you for your support on this. I think it's the right thing to do. It's moving forward in the right direction.
Moving forward, supervisors, the next item on the agenda is item number 4C, which is the review of the June 2021 field inspection report. This is behind tab number 3. We do have Brian Schwab present to present the report. We also do have representatives of LMP present. I see Bill. Bill Gibb is here.
Good morning, Board. On the inspection, one of the main issues were vines and weeds. LMP has started to clear those. We still have quite a few along Benito and in some of the cul-de-sacs. After the drought stress and the clogging of the intakes for the irrigation system, we had some drought stress and hot spots in the turf. Most of those are coming back nicely. The turf really is starting to respond well. We still have some areas that we're going to monitor. Then on our next inspection, we'll go through and chart the areas we don't think that are going to come back. And they might have to have some replacement there. And then this morning I found out we do have a date for the annual flower installation. I think it's going to start tomorrow. So that's the majority of what we had in the inspection, just weeds and vines and a little bit of detail. Be happy to take any questions at this time.
Did we get behind on hand pulling weeds and vines? When I looked through it, there were a lot of the cul-de-sacs that for some reason seem to have problems this time.
That's how it usually, the cul-de-sacs always seem to be an issue with the vines and everything, but the crew members are here and they'll tackle those issues and get that resolved.
Any questions for Brian? Questions for Sergio on the report?
Well, I always have a question about the irrigation repairs because they, when I look at the monthly expenses, again, they're really, it's a constant thing every month. Suggestions?
The system is, I mean, we're old, this irrigation, and I think that it's going to, it's not gonna get any better. I don't, going forward, they're changing, they're doing everything they can out there to make sure that we don't blowing heads and these clocks, but I think we're at that stage that, it's happening. We've had, out on Benito, we had a lightning strike that took out, I think, 3 clocks, and which is that's, a big hit, and had no air to, L&P or anybody else. It's just, that's what, when you go pull them out of the ground, they're burnt. So I think we're at that age, and then lightning doesn't help with them either. Also want to introduce, we have a new district manager for L&P, Chris
Branch
Perry.
manager for
He took over.
Sarasota. My name is Chris Perry. So
welcome.
Thank you. I'll be working intently with Keith. I've been in the industry about 15 years. I have a great background in irrigation, landscape design, landscape lighting, and of course maintenance as well. So, I'll be working intently with Sergio to work through any issues that we have out here and try to be as proactive as possible on any problems that we incur on the property and try to get the short of as much as possible. Follow-up emails, pictures of things of that nature on a weekly basis of areas that we're maintaining, so that we can get through that. Also pictures of irrigation areas, that would be affected if we didn't make the repairs that were necessary. So it is normal in Florida. We're the lighting capital of the United States. So, a lot of that electricity in the ground affects the wires, affects the valves, and there's not much that we can do about that. It's just one of those processes that we have to work through. Of course, irrigation systems are great, but as well as that, they're not made to be perfect either. They're just not at that point where they're, absolutely perfect. We have seals that clog and stand up. So, unless we can go through the whole property at a major expense and replace everything at brand new, which just isn't a possibility, it's always going to be an incurring expense. But, keeping the landscape looking beautiful, irrigation's our foundation. So without that, it's not going to sustain itself going forward. And of course, the rising heat, so it just requires more water going forward. So we'll discuss that more as we move forward. But please, any questions that you have, and I'll introduce myself and any information that you need from me, I'm here to assist as best as I can.
Thank
This
you.
is Carl. I'm hearing 2 different things here. One is from Keith that says, just can't help it, it's the age of the system, et cetera. And then by our irrigation specialist, it says, there's not much you can do, you need to keep replacing. I'm just wondering if we are actually in that line, because our irrigation water bills are through the roof. And I don't know if there's something that on irrigation we can try as a test site. I don't know, around a cul-de-sac or, straight row of flowers or hedges or whatever. But I'm just disappointed that we have to come back in the meeting and we're we're not hearing much, I guess it's gonna change. You know, we're gonna be following up on this stuff on a maintenance basis. That's my comment, Rich.
Well, you know what, we're all homeowners here, and I'll just speak for myself. I've had to do a lot of work on the irrigation system around my house. What we have in the community is our house is only bigger, you know, so I've had to replace heads, clock, valves here and there. So it's a maintenance issue on a system in my house that's 18 or 19 years old, and it's the same in the community. It's not going to last forever, and we have to stay on top of it. And it's costly, but it's something that we have to do unless I don't think there's another option.
One good thing that hasn't happened lately is mains. We haven't had, it's been probably 2 months since we've had to dig up a main, where before there was 3 or 4. So, you know,
right.
And I think that's attributed to our new pumps. They're not hammering the system so good, so bad. And so I think that's going to help us down the road.
Yeah, and I would say if water consumption has been something that's been coming up is because we just went through basically a 2 to 3 month drought where we literally had no rain. And so, you know, the amount of landscape, the way the landscape looks now, you know, that irrigation, it had to run more often. So now that we're getting more rain, we can definitely take a look at the run times for the irrigation, you know, slightly cut that back in areas of low priority, but making sure that the landscape stays healthy is always a big priority because, as we know, it is a major expense. And again, irrigation is the foundation. Without that, our plants aren't going to look the way that they need to. Your community isn't going to have that vibrant look that we need it to have. So it's a constant adjustment as the year gives us what it's going to.
You also have to consider, supervisors, that with the replacement of the pump system, you're filtering water better. So you are also preventing heads from being clogged and less issues. How many zones do we have in total?
Oh, God.
I don't have.
Average number?
It's over 100.
A lot.
So, you know, you have a lot of infrastructure when it comes to irrigation itself.
Are there any other
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the review and discussion regarding the River Club evaluation by Vesta. This is behind tab number 4. Roy, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My colleague Rudy is handing out our presentation. So while he's doing that, a couple quick comments. I think it was my understanding from last month's meeting that the board might allocate about 30 minutes to this topic. If you choose to go longer or shorter, that's your prerogative. But for my part, I'll try to keep our presentation to about 10 minutes and allow plenty of time for Q&A. So what we've done is I provided that presentation via email over the weekend to the board. We have hard copies for the audience members. Rudy, does any of the board members want a hard copy, or are you just going to look at it?
Right, it's not this.
Yes, it is that.
Oh, I've got it.
Thank you. I think they're good.
I'm good, thank you.
So
I've got it.
I'll borrow the chair's term a moment ago. The presentation is a Reader's Digest version of our 13 or 14-page report. Everyone's had a chance to read that online in the agenda packet for the last week or so. So what we want to do is just focus on the handout of the presentation. And on the second page, we give a quick overview of what our approach was to our report. We began by just trying to make some observations of where we thought the River Club is today. Then we went into sort of an aspirational aim for where we thought we could be in the future, and then some steps to address those disparities or gaps between the two. And the second part of that second page is important. When we're talking about an evaluation of the club, of course, the people involved are crucial to that whole evaluation. However, we tried to balance our report with making observations about the key groups of people that are involved and not necessarily trying to single out any one individual. Although we did make a special mention of the crucial importance of the GM role. I think everyone understands that. It's so crucial to any club operation. We thought that needed to be mentioned. But the third point is also important. This was never intended to be a performance review of the staff. We knew this document would be a part of the public record. And just our approach is we would prefer to do performance evaluations in-house and figure out how to work with the chair as the liaison to best in terms of how we go forward with that particular item. But again, it was not our intention for this report to be performance review. The second thing I'll mention real quickly, if you go to the next page, we tried to assess where the club is today on the basis of our handful of months that we've been here. We know it's not a perfect report. We would love for it to be more complete, more detailed. We did the best we could within a few weeks' time. And I think as some audience members have mentioned, by the way, I'll say real quickly, we appreciate the affirmation and encouragement we've received since the report's been published. But again, we recognize that it's not perfect. We've been doing this long enough to know that an amenity like this, we call it, or a club, is such a huge part of the overall lifestyle of living in Venetian. We genuinely want the club to be the very best it can be so that the folks here, the residents here, enjoy living here as much as possible. We do think it's clearly was a key reason why people bought into Venetian, and we just want to try to help our team do the best they can to help achieve the level of satisfaction that everyone's looking for. Secondly, again, when we mentioned the different key groups involved, and we basically structured our report in terms of discussing each of those key groups, the interaction between those groups is so crucial. It's almost so obvious that it doesn't need to be stated, but we mentioned in this handout, there's an interdependency between these groups. So when we talk about a desire for unity or recognizing some levels of friction, it's not just that we want everybody to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It's that this interdependency means we all have to work together to achieve the best for Venetian. That's really our goal. That's really our desire, is that we're all working together to achieve the best for Venetian. I think we all would agree with that goal. The question is, how do we get there? And then third, as already been mentioned today, the financial subsidy of the club is an important issue. So then we go to the next page. Again, what we call an aspirational aim or aiming for like a North Star for Venetian, for the River Club. We don't necessarily presume that we've got this nailed down because we've been here, for a long time, because clearly we haven't. But we do think the benefit of our experience elsewhere for so many years can help us form what we think is a realistic aim for the future. But clearly we think if the club is run really, really well, it will unify the district more, the community more, and we think the residents will be happier. Secondly, along those lines, when more residents are utilizing the club and programs and everything that it has to offer, Venetian just feels like it's thriving, like it's dynamic, like it's alive as a whole, but each individual resident has an opportunity to experience what people refer to as an active adult community because of social connections, because of things to do. So to some extent, the old saying, if you build it, they will come, is true to a point. But we would say from our vantage point, we want to partner with the team here to just try to do the very best we can to draw people here as much as possible so they're getting the full value of the club and everything it has to offer. We don't know if that's been done in the past, but we want to partner with everybody to try to make sure it's being done going forward. And then we feel like if we achieve those aims, along with trying to make progress with the financial subsidy, Venetian really would be distinguished from other communities, because that's a very delicate, challenging balancing act where you're trying to maximize the club, its offerings, what the staff brings, try to do it in a very financially responsible fiscal way, and just maximize the resources and the talent that's here. That's sort of an overarching perspective we would have. And not everybody's able to do that. Obviously, COVID's created challenges. I think our perspective is primarily post-COVID. So when we talk about bringing people in and driving lifestyle, we're assuming that some of the restrictions we're going to continue to not be in place, and that we'll be able to gather and do those things. But we do have that perspective up and down the I-75 corridor, all up and down the I-95 corridor, where amenities, clubs, lifestyle It brings people together. It distinguishes a community. It helps sell homes. It props up your property values. There's so many good reasons to do this well. Not to mention, as I've already said, not just people enjoying living here, but people enjoying working here. And we care about all that. And we want to do our part to try to help all that. So how do we get there is the next page. I don't think we necessarily have to go through all that line by line. Folks have had a chance to see that in our report. But we think if we tried to group everything together from our vantage point, the three things on the left are the key disparities. Again, just from our vantage point. Lack of alignment and unity between these key groups, which is the on-site staff that we learned from talking with them that they've called themselves Team Venetian, right, Denise? So that was good to know. We like that term. Vesta would be another group, the board, your committees, and the residents in general, or the way we organized our report. So, lack of alignment and unity. We do think a mission statement would be helpful. People have talked about a roadmap. We learned, since we published our report from Mr. Raffato, that as Denise has, a previous board actually adopted a roadmap about 8 years ago. I don't know if everybody's aware of that. I wasn't aware of it when we submitted our report. So Denise is going to hand out a copy of that. That was provided to me over the weekend from Bob. And we don't necessarily have to go over that, especially since you may be looking at it for the first time in a while. But I just need to acknowledge that to an extent that was already created years ago. They tend to need to be updated periodically anyways. But rather than possibly starting from scratch, we would suggest you just take a look at that and decide in the future whether you want to utilize that or not do this at all. But we do think it would be helpful to do something like that. The second bullet point there is that our engagement, our oversight, our support with the team is very important. We do not want to make this all about everybody else. We tried to acknowledge our own level of responsibility and even some of our own missteps in our report, and we thought that was necessary for sure. And then the third part out of that was just integrating strong leadership from the board, great advice and support from your committees, which we recognize the value of that. We try to do so in our report, and then strong day-to-day management performance by Team Venetian. The second gap was, which we touched on, is we think there could be more engagement, satisfaction by the residents. Some of that, our perception, is shaped by sort of anecdotal evidence, whether it's emails or comments at board meetings. But as somebody I think has already said from the audience today, I think the overarching perspective has to be satisfying you folks, has to be satisfying the residents. And we don't feel from Vesta's vantage point that we ever arrive in knowing exactly what the residents want and whether they're being satisfied or not. So things like surveys, things like comment cards, all that would be helpful to understand, where the residents feel the level of service, the quality of service is. And then the lifestyle program is part of that. So we'll be happy to engage with you more about that during the Q&A. And then the third item is that financial subsidy. And again, we'd be happy to talk about that more during the Q&A. But we're not even certain right now, standing with you folks, whether there's even complete board unity about the issue of the subsidy. So we need to know that going forward. And then so that's really the overview of the ways to address the gaps from our viewpoint. The last page is just a couple quick comments about the team itself. And again, one of my opening comments was we did not want this to be a performance review. But we did feel it was important to try to acknowledge some of the feedback we've heard from the staff in the short time we've been here. We tried to create a balanced report. There's certainly been feedback from residents about the staff's performance that we've heard. And so we try to acknowledge that, but I don't know if there's a perfect way to do that when you're trying to balance a desire for consideration and respect for the staff, but at the same time say, we're going to continue to try to set the bar as high as we can and perform as well as we can as a team. And we're not satisfied, and we're going to presume that nobody else is satisfied today. The last part would be the way to close, I think, my overall overview. This issue of interdependency is important. And so that's why we say what we say in the report. We think there's a need for continued patience, perseverance, courtesy, and goodwill by everyone involved. We do know there's a need for strong management performance by the team. And then we know that there's a need for further attention and intentionality in the assessment, development, and support of the team by Vesta. And if we do all that, I'm sure there's other things that are going to come up, other needs, but if we do all that as sort of our overarching perspective, we think that as a community, as a team, we can achieve the very best for Venetian, and we'd love to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Comments?
Well,
I thought your, in the report, your honest comments about the accounting issues that were brought. I like your honesty on all that. I think that was very important that you did.
Can I say real quickly that I fully intended to be taken to the woodshed by you folks a couple of months ago, and it was just a misunderstanding on my part. It wasn't that I was trying to tuck my tail and run, so at a minimum, I thought I needed to acknowledge that in the report. But thanks for saying that.
The other thing that I kind of picked up on it is that some of the committee relationships with the staff, I don't, I'm on the landscape committee or the liaison with the landscape committee. I don't think that's an issue, but I think the tennis or racket committee specifically, in some cases, giving direction to the staff. And I think you talk about it. I think that's something we need to get a handle on. I don't think committees should be doing that. I don't think that's their purpose. And I think it puts Denise, our club manager, Denise, in a very difficult position. So
I'll say real quickly, and I'll give. We've been here long enough, sitting in board meetings long enough to this has come up, and we've heard the board say collectively that you don't expect committees to give direction to staff. We've heard that. But we're also seeing that there's some level of dissatisfaction and frustration amongst different members of certain committees. And so we've got to figure out how to deal with that without it feeling like the committee's giving direction to the staff. So if Supervisor Booker or anybody else would like to expound on that.
First, I really appreciate the report that you did. It was comprehensive, it was honest, and it addressed the issues here. I think the board, as well as some of our committees, have failed to allow you guys to manage in the proper way. We started in the initial engagement when we told you what employees to keep here. Okay, you came prepared to make decisions as to employees, but this board usurped that authority and took it over. So we didn't stay in our quote lane. As I have to apologize for something that was sent out to you in response to this report. It was totally improper, totally unnecessary. It polarized certain groups, and it was divisive, and I apologize for that. Our role as the racket committee is not to oversee the employees, as some would like, or to manage their day-to-day operations. That's going to change as of today. When we have the meeting, we're going to talk about that. Okay, that's not our role. Our role is to allow the management company to manage. And if it's not to our satisfaction, it will be brought to this body, the CDD, and then it would be transferred to you. But these lanes have been merged and confused. It was enlightening what you said, but it was so true in this report. So as we move forward, divisive members and actions will not be tolerated as it relates to our committee. And we have a meeting today at 2:00, and we're going to talk about these things. Okay, that's not our role. So.
Good.
I want to say thank you, Roy. As you remember, I was the one who asked you to do this some weeks ago, and you stepped forward. And three things is where I was looking. Where are we? Where could we be? How do we get there? Real simple stuff. I think you did a very comprehensive report and a very honest report. Just for the other supervisors' knowledge, Roy and I spoke about this prior to it being finalized, made a couple of adjustments here and there. And then once that was done, it was sent to Belinda, and then it was sent to everybody else here. I think it gives us an opportunity to take a look at ourselves, which is important. I think just from some of the comments you made about the board, we should do our homework. We should be prepared when we come here. And I think that's something that we should all take to heart. We come here, we should be efficient. We shouldn't be having meetings that go on and on forever. You lose focus if you're sitting here for 4.5 and 5 hours or whatever. I think you're right on target with that. I think you're right on target with complacency can enter the job, and that is a real problem. I thank you for the time that you spent here, and I think that we have some direction on where we could go, and we need to talk more about how we're going to get there. So thank you again for your hard work.
Thank you.
Mitch, I have a couple of comments.
Sure, Carl.
When I was interviewed, since I'm on the Social and Dining Committee, I basically said, in my view, it has nothing to do with committee members or whatever, but at least 3 of the committee meetings I attended usually talk about what happened for lunch last month, what programs we have coming up, 2 for 1 wine or whatever. And I really stress, I think it's in the report somewhere, to Vesta, that we really need to convert one of the people in our management structure to a lifestyle manager. Now, what do I mean by that? We have segments of our population in here that I think go underserved. I brought this up at a couple of meetings. Why can't we have 2 to 3 men's breakfast or luncheon meetings a year? But that can't be driven by a committee. That has to be driven by a lifestyle manager who can put together an agenda that's interesting, work with the staff, et cetera, et cetera. I know I keep beating this issue on the head, so I don't mean it to sound like what do I want to say? Oh, the lounge. There are not single people, mainly men, who will come up to the lounge, and then when the lounge staff or person is driven into the cafeteria, they disappear, and I thought, oh, well, no, we serve them. But we run back and forth to find out what they want. Well, we've all been in restaurants trying to catch the eye of our wait person because we need a drink refill. I mean, these are little things, but I think beyond that, a lifestyle manager within the ranks of the management group will help us generate interest among other user groups in the Venetian. That's my comment.
Thanks, Carl. And I think Roy spoke to that in the report. And when I read that, I said it's just utilizing staff that we have and to bring more quality amenities or presentations or whatever to our community. And I think it's a good idea.
Right, okay, great, super. Sorry to take up time.
Okay, Roy, I have a couple of questions. You've been around this a long time. Are we much different than other communities that you take care of?
I just can only answer that from my perspective. I have great colleagues, great teammates that may have their own perspective, and I love to tap into as many perspectives, including here at Venetian, as possible to really answer that question. But your question is, what do we see elsewhere? The thing that comes to my mind, Steve, when I hear your question is, the first thing that comes to my mind is this issue of combining a club environment, a club experience with a CDD residential community. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying I'm just saying from my perspective, I'm not real clear if everybody's in agreement, because I'm hearing different things, frankly, that there's maybe a desire for more casual, maybe, and then other people saying, no, we bought in here for a particular club experience. So to me, we don't have as much of a challenge about resolving that one fundamental issue in a lot of our other communities, the way, at least from my perspective, I'm not clear if there's a uniform perspective in Venetian about either the level of service, because I think answering that question goes a long way towards dealing with that financial subsidy.
So what are we gonna do about that?
It's not my place to say what you're gonna do about that. I think it's the board's place to say, this is who we are. This is what Venetian is. Maybe what you were 10 years ago, maybe what you desired it to be, needs to evolve and adapt to what's happening in the marketplace. And I think to some extent, from my perspective, COVID alone has caused people to take another look at food and beverage dining.
So we've got an issue that.
From my perspective, I think you have an issue.
Okay, so that's something you're suggesting we have to deal with.
It's always good to look at that issue every 5 to 10 years anyways.
Okay. All right, the second thing I wanted to ask you is, do you believe that that's part of the financial discussion that always comes up about this big deficit or this big number that we hear, the $350,000?
Right. Yeah, so in that handwritten report, not handwritten, I'll call it a PowerPoint presentation we just handed out to everybody.
Yeah.
We made a couple of notes that in the club industry, you normally would have membership dues and a food and beverage minimum for every single person belonging to the club. So you're collecting your dues through your assessments, and then you're getting the food and beverage minimum through the subsidy.
Right.
So what I'm saying is you can't really have it both ways. You can't really say we want this level of service where it's a club, but we're not going to charge a food and beverage minimum, and we don't expect to have a financial subsidy. We want that to just magically disappear. You can't have it both ways. But I don't disagree with the audience members' comment that it's up to management to do the very best job they can to make this place so desirable from a quality of food standpoint, quality of service standpoint, from a value proposition standpoint, that we've done everything we can to maximize the outcome, financially and otherwise.
Okay. All right.
This is Regina Kardash for the record here for Andy Cohen. There was something that I wanted to comment on because I wanted it to be clear on the record from a legal perspective that you as the governing body are responsible for your staff. And unless you specifically delegate that authority to those committees, they do not have the authority to direct your staff in any way, shape, or form. So from a legal perspective, that rests with you as the governing body.
Okay.
Do you really think that people are confused as to who our employees work for? I thought I read that in here.
Yes, sir. I think it's subtle, and I tried to say it's subtle. I mean, we have experience serving communities where the employees are district employees.
Right. They are not here. They are
That's
your
not the
employees.
case. They are
Yes.
contracted out employees to the management company, to Vesta. I think the subtlety also can come in where, if not the residents, board members who are residents, you need to express your desires, your level of satisfaction, your dissatisfaction. But as I think has already been commented today, you would expect either in the public forum of a CDD meeting for the staff to hear you loud and clear and carry it out to satisfy your wishes and desires, or else offline, the chair as the liaison to the management company might need to elaborate further on what some issues are to make sure we're clear. But then you leave the day-to-day oversight and management performance to the management company. I don't think the 5 of you are unclear about that. I think to some extent you can get pulled into stuff when a resident emails you or comes up here and expresses some level of dissatisfaction. And we're not saying people shouldn't be able to express how they feel about how things are being run. I would say this is a very tricky dynamic and a tricky relationship. But the guardrail I would suggest, and it's not from a legal perspective, glad counsel is here, is you've contracted it out. You want the management company to handle not just oversight and support, but of course paying them and benefits and all that stuff. But trust your management company to be listening to the residents, listening to you folks, and just trying to make sure that we're satisfying everybody as best we can. If we do that, we will be aligned. We're not going to be confused about where we stand with you folks if we do that.
We get these emails infrequently, but customer dissatisfaction for, my lunch was cold, the fish was hot, whatever. And, I don't know that we should be responding to that, but we need to know that Team Venetian is responding,
Right.
either Denise
Right.
or the other people in her team. I don't think it should all fall on her to respond to all these minutia, or not minutia, these day-to-day things. That's why you have other employees.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say real quickly, I think to some extent when I'm listening to your question, it reminds me of what Steve's question was about what's our perspective at other places. I would tell you in all honesty, we don't see, maybe some of my colleagues would disagree, I don't see residents interacting directly with the board members about a lunch, about an event, about a tennis court situation, the way it happens at Venetian.
Right.
And I don't think your committee structure is feeding that. I just think there's a level, I'll come back to this. I'm not trying to focus blame on anybody.
Right.
We're all in this together. There's a level of dissatisfaction. It varies. We say this literally in our report. It can vary from week to week, or it can vary from amenity to amenity. But there's some level of dissatisfaction that's causing people, if they feel like they're not being heard, if they feel like nothing's changing, they're going to reach out to you guys directly. We think it's our responsibility to work with our team so that they don't feel the need to reach out to you guys directly. How's that? I'll say it that way.
Love that.
Well, right, just a comment about all of that, though. Keith, can you tell me how many are online? About
13.
Okay, so 13 people online, and I don't know, say 20 here. The 20 that are here, there are a lot of repeat people that come to every meeting, very interested in what we do. That means we've got, say, even 100 residents that are interested. That means we have 1,000, 2,000 perhaps residents that we never hear from. The scale is tipped the wrong way.
So I would say this real quickly. We tried to say in there as one of the key gaps is that there's not a high enough participation level in things that are going on or things that could go on here to drive up participation. Not necessarily so there's 75 people at a board meeting, because that's why we have it at 9:30 in the morning, so there's not so good. But anyway.
We want, at least I would encourage residents to.
Yeah, that's their prerogative. What we're saying is that I wouldn't measure satisfaction by the number of people come to a board meeting. I would say is we've got to do a different job through surveys, through whatever, to make sure that we are satisfying the residents. Not on the basis of who's coming to board meetings, but just overall feedback, input that you're hearing, we're hearing on the job we're doing.
Do we really know the answer to that?
I'm not sure I do.
I don't think we do either.
But we're echoing part of what you just said, which is we don't think the level of participation and engagement is high enough. We think it could be higher. We're seeing it higher at other places.
And I think that would be fantastic.
Okay,
Do
well,
you mean level of engagement at board meetings?
No. Attending everything that we could possibly attend. Lunch, dinner, tennis, everything. We would always aim higher, just always aim higher.
Oh, absolutely. We're at 68% resident use of the club. Are other places a lot higher than that?
Well, again, we tried to analyze it by different groups, different departments of the club. If tennis is about, 15% to 20% of the entire community at best.
Which we don't really want 100%.
Right, we have limitations. We have resource limitations on all these things. We have resource limitations on all these things.
but that is your goal, to direct us as to how to obtain at least 75%. If we let you run, as opposed to tying your hands.
When you add the 2 more pickleball courts, you're going to be closer to 75% for that reason alone.
Okay.
3 more? I'm sorry, I missed 3. I didn't mean to lower that bar.
But again, we have to let you manage. That's the bottom line. And we set,
I'm not standing here.
Policy and stay out of the rap, going back and forth, nor direct it all to Denise. Look at it as if we were city council members downtown. You think those city council people are getting those type of complaints we get?
Sure they are. Sure they are.
And they're directed to the mayor.
I think they are.
I do too.
Well,
There's always a constituency base that people feel responsible towards.
And by the way, in most municipalities, they're not contracting out to management staffing services. We do one, by the way, in South Florida. They've contracted out 300 employees to us. But anyway, so if you're going to employ those folks, you're probably going to hear about that stuff because you're employing those folks. In your case, you're not employing the team.
So I guess what I would ask is, we've got a nice report, we've got a summary.
Where do we go?
Where do we go?
I think as a board, we need to devote time at a board meeting to discuss exactly that. Where do we go?
So let me follow up with you, Belinda and our legal person. Is there an opportunity to have a session with Roy and really sit down and try to understand this and make some objectives, rather than having this formal agenda we go through with this item, this item, this item? If we can't have a sit down here, we're not going to get there.
But it's a damn sunshine law.
Well, no, I'm saying open.
Right, yeah, it would still be open. You could do it in a workshop style is really, I think, essentially what you would be doing.
Like
Where
we did
there's
the budget.
not decision-making at that workshop, but there's active discussion, and it still is open to the public.
So wait a minute, don't leave the microphone. How do we get it a decision-making if it's open to the public? Why isn't it?
The decision-making occurs when you advertise. I know for municipalities, we always do it this way, where you advertise a workshop, you don't make decisions there. Workshops are work sessions for that open discussion, so that people are still informed, and then whatever decision you make on your formal agenda and board meetings.
I hear you.
Right.
But this is important to us. We've heard a lot of stuff here today. Why couldn't it be a combined, advertised workshop open to the public? Is that possible?
Yes, you can
Has
do
to
that,
be.
absolutely.
Okay.
It has to be.
All right.
Yeah.
And we can make decisions there.
Not in a workshop
Not in a
setting.
What you can do is you can schedule the workshop prior to the onset of your meeting, of your regular meeting.
Right.
Hold the
Okay.
workshop and then have it as an agenda item during the regular meeting for approval.
Okay.
And then you can approve it during the regular meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
And it could be, as we have done before, it's the workshop starting at 9:30, and then the meeting is going to be at a time after. Yes, we can do that, and yes, we should do that, in my opinion. So, what do you want to do?
I want to do it. I don't want to let this go by the wayside.
Okay, so let's.
I mean, that's just me.
I totally
agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's set a date when we can do it, a time that Roy can be here, and what does the calendar look like?
Let's set a reasonable date sometime in September, because we are getting ready to go to vacations and things like that.
Right.
And be realistic in September or
How about the last meeting in September?
Not going to be here.
say,
Okay.
First
It
meeting in October.
has to be when we're all here.
Tell me the meetings in October if we could.
September 13th
I'll be here September 13th.
and September 27th.
I won't be here the 27th.
September 13th looks good.
That would work.
That's when you did your site development. That might be a long meeting. Pickleball.
Because of pickleball.
What's the first one in October? 6?
11.
11?
Is Columbus Day a holiday? I don't think so.
Yeah. How about, what's the next one in October?
25.
25 would be
Going for a
best.
wedding, my daughter's wedding, so.
That's the problem.
You don't have to hold the workshop on the same day as the meeting. You can hold it the week before the meeting.
Yeah, the problem for me is I'm going to be gone from September 17th through the 12th of October.
We could still do it on the 13th.
Yeah, we'll just do it on 13th.
September.
Yes.
Works for me. I don't, how about?
Does that work for you, Roy?
It's my wife's
Let's
birthday.
set September
So,
13th.
It's my wife's birthday. Can't stay too long.
September 13th, the workshop at 9:30. Okay?
Yep.
Great.
Meeting to follow.
Great.
Roy, again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the time and effort
Thank
that was
you.
spent.
Thank you, Roy. Are you staying for the racket sports committee?
Take a break.
Not sure.
Yeah. Linda, could we take a
Yes, it's 11:16. I was going to recommend a break. Can we take a 10-minute break?
break?
Okay. So I am going
Yes, all right, wait there.
to turn the recorder back on, and we are officially back on the record at 11:30 a.m. So moving forward with our agenda, supervisors, the next item on the agenda is item number 4E, which is the consideration of the Florida mulch proposal. This is behind tab number 5 for your review.
Now, this mulch is going to be put where the shillings and the junipers were pulled? Is that where it's going?
That's my understanding.
And there'll be no plantings?
Well, the idea is to do the removal, and then there will be a time where there will be no plantings.
But an interim period.
Interim period. We just talked to L&P, assuming they get the bid for the removal. If they do it in late August, that basically means the month of September it's going to be pretty bare.
So
because we can't plant until the new fiscal year after October 1st. Plus, we have $60,000 in the budget for mulch in the 21-22 budget. So rather than, as far as I'm concerned, to do mulch now, to do $9,000 worth of mulch for the month of September, why not wait and do it all once the new plantings are in? That's what I'm going to recommend.
So you're saying no to this?
I would say no to this at this point.
Okay.
Because I understand it'd be nice to have it look nice but I think we can go a month. We have told the community that it's going to be done in phases. We still need to remove the oleanders and some of the grasses.
It's been over a month there now.
Well, just out here.
Right.
They just started in that one, in the circle.
Okay, so you want to withdraw this?
Personally, that would be my recommendation.
If I can, just speak again, during our conversation, my only concern is what time of year are most of your residents here? And, the look of that for us in general. After we do the removal, we are going to rake out these beds, but again, these beds are, they're not going to be completely looking good for a month's period of time. So as long as you're
$9,000,
it's a reasonable thing to suggest, because they can look bad on us to say, hey, we didn't finish this job. We just want to make sure that everybody's on board.
Right, it's a work in progress.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to have to deal with this for a short period of time until the work is done. And I think that's very reasonable. And if there are concerns, we'll deal with the concerns. But so you want to withdraw it?
Let's hold,
Table it,
table it, please.
Linda?
Okay. So we're going to table this line item and move
Right.
forward. The next item on the agenda is item number 4F, which is the consideration of the proposals for removal of the juniper and the shillings at the entrance. This is behind tab number 6 for your review.
Yeah, it really shouldn't read entrance. It's the entire length of Veneto. The entrance is incorrect. I don't know. I should have corrected that, but 12 o'clock last night, nobody was listening. Sorry.
So the proposals are behind tab number 6. There was a proposal presented by Alex's Lawn for $9,168, L&P $8,225, and Tri-County $8,300.
There was a fourth one that came in late. It came to me for some
It
reason.
just came in like Friday.
Friday, and it's
but
at-
it was
Yeah.
15 grand.
No, it was 24.
Oh.
Jeez.
24. So we got to keep the excavator.
And his family?
So
Or did you mean the machine?
I was talking about the machine.
quickly, can you just tell me what this does, this proposal?
Pardon me?
What is it going to do?
This is the removal of all the junipers and all the shillings
From,
from this circle to the entrance.
and that's in line with what we wanted to do.
That's what we communicated to the community, that we were going to do that first, and then we'll have to put it out to bid to get the oleanders and some of the grasses out next. So it doesn't look totally barren for the next 2 months, but we will have, the month of September, the Veneto is not going to look like it looks now. And we'll have to live with that.
We have to deal with that.
Wow.
So I would recommend that we go with the LMP bid.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
it's price driven, and we know them and they know us, and no finger pointing.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from LNP at $82.25.
I make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Carl?
So by the end of August?
Thank you. Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is item number 4G, which is the ratification of the audit for fiscal year end September 30th, 2020, as prepared by Berger, Toombs, Leon, Gaines, and Frank, which is behind tab number 7 for your review.
They found everything to be just fine from the way I read it.
The only adverse finding in the audit was the amendment of the reserve budget, but that was due to the cost of the pump replacements for the irrigation system.
Right.
Other than that, there were no other adverse findings in the audit. Prior year, there were no adverse findings as well. If there are no questions on the audit, we were looking for a motion to accept the audit.
I'll make a motion that we accept the audit as presented with the.
Second.
Thank you, Carl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 4H, which is the review and acceptance of the arbitrage liability report for the period ending May 28, 2021, as prepared by LLS Tax Solutions, which is behind tab number 8. The report indicates that there is no no arbitrage liability at this time. This report is what you would call your disclosure report, which is an IRS requirement. If there are no questions, we're looking for a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 4I, which is the consideration of the Bright Waters pool proposal for the extra pool pump system. This is behind tab number 9 for your review. Denise, do you want to give the board an overview on this proposal?
We just replaced another pump at the recall several years ago. We bought that extra pump to keep on hand because it had taken weeks and weeks, I think over 6 weeks, to get it replaced last time. Thank goodness we had it because they are 6 months out at this time. So this is to immediately purchase another pump to have on hand. These will go out every 2 to 3 years. It's with the amount of use that we have. It's just a given. So this one is $63.29 and just permission to buy one. The one for the spa is just a couple thousand, so Mr. Bracco can sign that on his own, but this one.
And where will these funds come from?
This one here, I believe is going to be able to come out of the reserve because it is a replacement pump.
Your pool equipment is part of your reserve.
Okay.
Well, I only have one question. Have we looked at other sources for the purchase of this equipment?
Yes, our pool technician, he called several people and did all the research for me and said this was the one that was on, that had the quickest turnaround. It still will take months to get it, but this was the best deal.
These are the ones that come from Germany, right? They're imported from Germany?
Yes.
Having it on hand saved us
months.
A great deal of anguish with the pool going down.
Memorial Day weekend.
It's having spare parts and it makes good sense. So I would recommend that we.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from BMC and move forward with ordering this piece of equipment.
A second. Beat you to it, Carl.
Mr. Bracco, I'll have you sign
Any
this.
further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Carl. The next item on the agenda is item number 4J, which is the consideration of the proposals for the replacement of the flat top range. These are behind tab number 10 for your review. Denise did present 3 proposals. The first one was from Russo's for $9,678.45, Vulcan $6,514.09, and Catone $6,078.
Denise, do you want to give the board an overview?
Yes, Russo is a vendor where it would take an invoice and they would do it and hook it up. They're over almost 10,000.
Right.
So I always go to Webstront. They do not take invoices. We have to pay them cash. And they do have someone that comes and installs it for us. So this is the same thing, complete install, everything for $64. So you're saving a little over $3,000. The quote on the Caton is without the installation.
Oh,
So
And
your
installation is typically
installation is
$500.
Yeah, it's gonna be a decent amount. Here, it's $440, and then I added on the hookups that have to come with that.
So the total price from
WebSmart.
Volcan, Webstront.
right, it's 657409.
6470, let's see, was there another?
647410.
Well, Denise.
Yes, and then there was, what is that, $99? No, that's not on there. So it is the 64. Now, this quote is almost 2 weeks old. I would do a not to exceed because literally on a daily basis, some of this stuff is going up. I'm hoping it will be the same, but there's.
Is this a replacement or something new?
It's replacing the one that we have. The one that we've had for about 9 months now. A lot of it is the uneven heating on it. And also the one we have is smaller and it has 2 burners on the side, which we don't need. So this one then will be a larger flat top when we can do more flat top.
But the other one is functioning.
The other one is functioning part way. I don't know that we could sell it to anybody because it's not in good working
I'm
order.
more usage wise. Is it producing the food that we need to satisfy the customers and residents?
It's producing, it is producing it, but we are getting sometimes where on one area it can burn and this one here doesn't cook enough. So you have very uneven temps.
Sounds like mine.
Yes.
Sounds like mine. But
we talked to some
9,000.
people about repairing it. It would have to have all new burners put in, all new gas connectors, and it ended up being well over $3,000.
How old is the one we have?
16, 17 years.
It's
the
no.
original.
Oh,
It's an
that's
original.
what okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
What was the 9 months? You said something about 9 months a few minutes ago.
It's been problematic for 9
For 9
months.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's what you were saying.
We've just had some real issues with it underneath the firings.
Okay, and Chef is recommending the one from.
Yeah, Volcan is a good brand. It's one of the better brands, and it's actually one of the cheaper brands.
So, but you're recommending the Webstrut?
Webstront, and I have the credit card, excuse me, the business credit card, which just now is getting paid off, so it should have the money on it, where boom, we can do it with that. And it saves us that $3,000 without going through invoicing.
Okay.
Which these guys will not invoice it, it's cash on demand.
So what is the not to exceed amount that you're recommending?
I would recommend 65.5, just to be on the safe side. I'm hoping it doesn't go up, that it stays this, but just in case it does, I don't want.
Not to exceed 65.5.
Yeah,
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept it from Webstront at not to exceed $6,500.
Second.
Okay, Carl.
And we're using the credit card, right?
yes.
So who gets the benefits of those points you get on that credit card?
I don't think this card has benefits. Mr. Lusty's the one that helped set it up. And I don't know, it'd be nice to have a card that had benefits, but it doesn't. We don't fly
Any
anywhere
further
anyway.
discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you, Paul.
Rick, I'm just trying to get the meeting over by 12.
I appreciate that, Carl.
The next item on the agenda is item number 4K, which is the consideration of the proposal for a sound system, which was under separate cover. But I believe Denise did send this to the board via email.
Yes, and then I got another one in over the weekend. which I have in that colored copy. It's so far out of reach, I figured it's
60,000.
60,000.
Okay.
So it's not like we need to even, consider.
Denise, I'd like to see this audio-visual partners itemize their quote here, because we just have
You
a
don't-
final amount and it says includes all sales tax were applicable. I don't
You
know if
don't have
they,
this one here?
I have a blank one. It doesn't,
That isn't the,
it's
oh, it
not
doesn't
saying,
have
you
the
know,
numbers, it just says what it is,
it
but
says
not what it costs.
it's just giving us the total cost at the bottom of 26.5 and change.
Yeah, he's not
but it's-
saying how much each.
It's not saying how much they cost, and though it says includes applicable sales tax, as you know, we don't pay any sales tax. I just like to know where the number comes from.
Yeah, I can have him do that, to itemize that. Do you want to wait on the approval until you do see that?
Don't we need more than one bid for something like
Well, we
this?
did, we got this one here also, and then I had called several other people and they just never called me back, never showed up. AV people are extremely busy, and when we did, remember when we just finished the Zoom, I had people come out and look into.
Right.
And several people came out and I recalled them, and because I called them out and they did all that work, and then we're not doing that. They don't want to come back out.
I'd like to
It's
see,
just a waste.
I realize the $60,000 one is a little bit out of reach right now, but I'd like to see another. Can you maybe speak with Roy and see if he can give you a recommendation on a company? But specifically, I'd like to see an itemized bill rather than just a final price.
Okay, let me ask them.
Denise, what is this? What are you doing? What does this
What-
entail?
What this this is the speaker system. It's in my office. It's this
I
huge
saw that,
thing
yeah.
with all the, it would be replaced with one box because that's analog, I guess, and this one's not. It would be able to be controlled by any of the manager's computers, and it would have capabilities of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth capabilities with it. There was another system that we needed. I didn't give it to you because it's not really apropos, but this company also gave us bids on this system with the speakers and the microphones. We have the VGR CCA that does a lot of these big events, and sometimes they need 4 and 5 speakers or 4 and 5 microphones and better speakers, etc. And so they said that they would like to help us purchase a new system.
That was gonna be my next
After meeting
question.
with several people, we realized this system works for us, and pretty much, they're willing to probably pay for 100% of this.
Okay,
And then we could still use it for board meetings, but it's their donation to the River Club. They like to do that each year, buy something. And so the one for this portable system, the VGR CCA, would be purchasing, but this speaker and whole sound system, this speaker goes in and out now. It's not really working that great, and he thinks it has to do with the system in my office, not the speaker itself, that the connections are getting really bad there. And right now, the gym and the pool are together. So if people don't want it in the gym, it turns off the pool people want it loud, the gym people don't. For some reason, they're together. They would separate all of them. So you could turn this room down and the other rooms would still have it. We have a little bit of that, but not much.
I'd like to see 1 or 2 other quotes on this if we could. And I know you're meeting with Ted Malkasian tomorrow regarding cable and all that other kind of stuff.
Let's not spend money until we know for sure.
Yeah, and itemize this.
I would think that we need someone to give us somewhat of a consultant to come in here so he can project for the next 5 years or so. These guys, this technology changes almost every year, and we need someone to help us.
This is not the top of the line. This one is not even top of the line. He said, if you want top of the line, you're talking 6 figures, easy. But this will do for our club. This is the, it's not an old one. This isn't a 5-year-old system. This is brand new.
Right.
It's just not top of the line. because there's no way we can afford top.
How about if we put this off until the next meeting, and in the meantime, at least get this
I'll try and
itemized
get one more.
and try to get, I'd like, honestly, I'd like to, it's a lot of money. I'd like to see 2 more
Yeah.
that come in, and we can make a decision on it then. Okay.
I'll keep trying to get more people.
Are these the same speakers at the pool and all?
Yes,
Everything?
it's the same music system that goes to the pool, that comes into here, outside on the
Okay.
patio.
You need it.
It's everything.
Okay. All right, so you're gonna work on that.
I'll continue to call some of these audiovisual people and see if I can get a couple more.
Okay.
in here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Didn't I hear that maybe Vesta can help us as well in this area?
Who?
Yes, you did hear that. I suggested that Denise speak with Roy and start there and get recommendations on companies that do this kind of work.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward, the next item on the agenda is item number 5A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on June 7th, 2021. These are behind tab number 11 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have one comment on line 223.
Okay.
Let me just pull it up. The last sentence, I'm not so sure I said that. Can we take that out, eliminate that whole sentence?
Mr. Klangler advised that he is comfortable with the monies allocated for the Tiki Bar. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't think we've allocated any
Shall we
money.
change it to uncomfortable?
Yeah, I don't think we've allocated any money to the Tiki Hut.
Well, actually, we have. We
Yeah,
have
$181,000.
$181,000.
But
If you're uncomfortable
yeah,
with it,
I'm
take it out.
uncomfortable
Let's take it
because
out.
I don't think I've always been careful about not saying a number, and I have some more information when it's supervisor's turn to talk about the Tiki Hut.
Okay.
So if we could take out that whole line, I think it would make more sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other?
I move we accept the minutes with that correction.
Okay. So there's a motion by Rick to approve the minutes subject to one change, which is the removal of a sentence on line 223. Your second.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Carl. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the operation and maintenance expenditures for the months of May 2021. These are behind tab number 12 for your review. The expenditures for the period of May 1st through 31st total to $155,855.43. Any questions regarding the expenditures?
Not a question, but the chairman had said earlier about we're spending a ton of money on irrigation stuff, and it's reflected in this report.
About 6,000.
These are the invoices that I mentioned. had
Yeah,
not-
that were coming.
the prior month that were
Right.
coming.
Freight train coming down the road.
Is it, but Belinda, is there such
But,
a thing?
but Keith is keeping a much better track
Yeah.
now. That map that he has, I think it's gonna, going forward, is really gonna make a big difference.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments about we are old. I was just curious, is there such a thing as a maintenance contract for irrigation systems?
Your maintenance of irrigation is part of your current contract, but when it comes to parts, that's what you're paying
Yeah.
for. That's why they conduct wet checks and they do, wet checks regularly. It's not uncommon to see this amount of money in irrigation repairs, given the amount of irrigation systems that you have in place.
Yeah.
So it really isn't.
But, this is coming up month after month after month, we're seeing these kind of numbers.
You do have a lot of battery operated controllers, which we have discussed in the past, and that is the majority of them are in the cul-de-sacs, correct? So these are not hardwired. Because of cost restrictions, typically developers do battery powered controllers.
We can move on.
Any other
Just-
questions?
Just a question on the third one down, digital assurance certification. It's a yearly fee. What do we get for that? What
That
is
is
that?
your. Is that an amortization schedule? Let me see.
It's It's right under Comcast Communications on the,
Because I'm guessing that this is a posting to Emma, which is a website where we have to upload all the information pertinent to the district as part of the indenture, but I'll double check. Yes, this is the information. They act as your dissemination agent for your bonds. So they provide information that's required as part to be placed on Emma. So DAC is a provider of that information.
okay. I have no other questions.
Any questions? Any other questions? If there are no questions, we'll be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the O&M for May
Second.
2021.
Second by Rick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Thank you, Carl. The next item on the agenda is the review of the May 2021 financial statements. These are behind tab number 13.
Did this, the cost, the maintenance of our fountains go up significantly?
Yes, $50 a month.
Went up $50 a month, okay.
But
So that-
the difference that you see there is because of the installation of the aerators that were installed.
Oh, that's lumped all together in that?
Yeah.
So that's why it's
So high,
Yes,
yeah.
so high,
not
okay.
because of the increase in the cost of the fountain.
Okay, I know Keith had told me there was an increase in the monthly maintenance, but, okay, now I understand it.
And I had asked Denise about the disclosure report. Looks like there might be something else in there. It's budgeted at $350 and it's $1,500.
That's Belinda, but I'll double check the general ledger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And outside council is through the roof, but we all know that.
Any other questions?
I had one question for Denise. Are we on that one yet? Meals and entertainment?
Music and entertainment on
Meals
page
and
9.
entertainment, $300 budgeted, 1,000 spent. Again, I know it's chump
No.
change, but
No,
why?
that actually, and we haven't been able to figure it out, how to get it changed. There was a $700 expenditure that was supposed to go in, it was some odd thing, it wasn't anything to do with food, that went into this. I think it was contract services or no, it wasn't contract. It might have been building maintenance.
So it's a posting error,
Yeah,
what you're saying.
it's an error, so it's really 130 over, and the reason that's over is I've taken, when Vesta comes, I've had them lunch a couple.
No, I'm
times. Yeah.
a couple $100, but
Yeah.
$700, I
Now,
thought.
percentage-wise, it's a huge percentage.
Yeah, it just sticks out, that's all.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
And just as an FYI, it's not on here because this is the entire River Club, but breaking it down in food and beverage, the subsidy is budgeted for $328,000 this year. We're at $211,000, which is 8% below what we should be year to date. We were supposed to be subsidized 228.8, and we're subsidized 211. If we keep that 8% up, it'll save us 50,000 by end of year on the subsidy.
On, Denise, on page 9, under music and entertainment. I think that's the one that I had a
Yes.
question about.
Year
Is
to
that-
date, 17,000, yeah.
Is that including fees for people who come in and play? Is
That's
that-
who this is. Music and entertainment are bands, and we try and, some of them have to be paid months in advance to book them because after COVID, everybody's booked up for months, so.
Okay, got it.
This is booked in advance.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
No further questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial statements from May 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please state aye.
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 Thank you, Carl. Moving on, we're gonna move forward with the consent items, which is item number 6. 6A, number 1, we have the meeting minutes of the Facilities Advisory Committee meeting of May 18th, Racket Sports, May 25th, Reserve, May 17th, Social and Dining, May 12th.
I'll make a motion that we,
Someone needs to make a change.
Okay, there's a motion by Carl to accept consent items. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Rich. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Ernest, I can hear you. You okay?
Aye.
Wake up, come on.
No, I was
We're
reading
gonna move
something.
forward with staff reports. Regina, do you have any reports?
I do not. I checked with Andy. Thank you for letting me fill in for him
Oh,
today. I'm sure he appreciates it as well. So there's nothing from district council.
Thank you for being here.
Denise, do you have anything to report?
Just a real quick overview, staffing, the higher-ups in Vesta met because of issues with hiring. We've had to go through background checks, drug tests, and it takes 10 days, and by that time, somebody's moved on to another job. So they've decided to waive the drug testing at this time for us so we can get employees faster. Still struggling. We've got prices going up everywhere to get people to work. I believe the golf club is paying $10 an hour for servers. We're at $7. We have more business, so they get more tips, but they don't know that when they start out. Still struggling with that. The price of food is continuing to skyrocket from chicken to crab. Crab went up, I think it was 120%. Lobster went up about 300%. And we're trying to hold steady with our prices by just being very careful with how we do things and when we use them. We've had to take some things off the menu. Lamb doubled in price, so that came off the menu. We're hoping, they're thinking in October is when things will start calming down because people are getting back to these plants and things that process the food. And hopefully they can get enough workers to get the food out. It's not that the food is scarce, it's the workers to process the food and get it to
Not a surprise, you see it in the supermarkets, we're all facing it.
everywhere. Yeah, so
Not a
our
surprise.
wine has doubled in price. Liquor, we're still struggling to get some of the brands of liquor. So, other than that, everything is going quite well, doing a lot of sellouts on events.
Good.
Numbers are doing really well.
There were a couple of nice emails from folks regarding the steak night that you had here.
Yeah, and I only sent you part of them. I've had people stop in my office. 4th of July was a wonderful success. We had 40 people walk in plus 100 reservations or more, so.
A lot of people seem to be going over the yacht club. Any yacht club people coming here?
They're not, and I've called, the reason being is they did not advertise. They pretty much have a list, these are the people we do reciprocity with. We gave them a half-page spread in our newsletter. I wrote a letter, we did an e-blast, and people are enjoying it over there. I will say this, and it's disheartening, I mean, very disheartening that I've had 3 people come to me on totally separate occasions. One, I had taken my management staff over there for an end-of-year dinner or lunch, and the server whispered to me, she really appreciated that we were so nice. She said they've had issues with some Venetian residents, and I was very shocked at that. Then I had another lady about 2 weeks ago said that she just so much appreciated the opportunity to be able to go there. She mentioned it to someone at the yacht club, and she said, oh, I hope we get to do it next year. And she said, I doubt it. We've had so many issues with residents, and it just breaks your heart. And then there was somebody who used to work there who had talked to one of my staff, my chef, and he said that on a tiki night, a group came in, walked in, and they said, I'm sorry, we're booked. There's no room. And they said, well, there's a table right there. We want that one. That's reserved for some of our members. Well, that's ridiculous. We're here, and threw a fit. And it's just so disheartening to hear things like that. It's embarrassing, and yeah. So, but people are enjoying it.
I noticed you sent out the dress code again. Was there an issue with us?
All of a sudden, the designer ripped jeans are just wanting to come through the door, graphic tees, and we're turning them away, and they're not happy about it, but we said, you know, it took everything to get this dress code to where we could wear denim, and we said we would be very strict with the rest of the dress code, and so we thought we'd send it out because it's happening.
You know, when people make reservations for an outside event, they get that same dress code reminder, but it doesn't necessarily apply for outside.
No, it does not. If it is a
And
private event.
I had a lengthy phone call with a resident about that, and I said the dress code applies for in-house dining, not, she's specifically talking about the 4th of July. And I said, 4th of July event is around the pool, it's an outside thing, it doesn't apply, but it's, you know, it's stated. And in reviewing that, it is, maybe we should just add a line to it that this refers to indoor dining.
Okay.
And that might,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that might take away.
Yeah, because people are lined with
okay.
swimsuits and everything out there.
Of
Yes,
course,
absolutely.
but we expect, you know,
Indoor dining.
all clothing is fine, it's just where you wear it, you
Yeah.
know? So, again, after 2 conversations, plus emails, I said, trust me, we're talking about indoor dining, we're not saying outdoor events, but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't say.
And there is some validity to that. I said, thought it was a general understanding.
I won't be able to add that in the rules and regs without a vote, but I can put it in the newsletter. Our newsletter, we always keep that on there.
Yeah.
And I think we also have a blurb at the bottom of all of our weekly things, and we can add that to that part of it. This is
Yeah,
for
or you
indoor
could just
dining.
put it, you know, an asterisk on it that this applies to indoor events.
Yeah.
That was the general understanding, I believe, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Denise?
Oh, I'll just
Yes,
comment
I
on.
have one.
Go ahead, Carl.
Denise, where are we on the roll bars to the bottom of the pool fencing outside?
The tennis fencing, we contacted, we had voted that the board had approved Ritzman to put it in. We called Ritzman and we're confirming that they were going to be able to come out when we were closed. And he said, we can, but just to let you know, the pricing of fence is double. And so we're asking them for another quote, and we're going to check another company because I don't know if it's just for Ritzman or if it has doubled, you know, the material he's saying has doubled. in price.
Hadn't he accepted the, I mean, we accepted the bid. He was the one that delayed the work. We didn't delay it.
Well, we sort of agreed to the delay because it was during season. And so I think a lot of times those quotes, I'll double check that one, but I think it has, the contract on it would be 90 days or, I don't think it had an open-ended.
He was supposed to do it in June, wasn't he?
It had gone up, that's when we had actually talked to him, was about 6 to 8 weeks ago. And he's supposed to be getting new prices. And we are shut down in August for a week. And we were gonna have him do that, the lights, and the courts we've delayed because of the rain. It's supposed to be extremely rainy. We didn't want that washing out, so the courts are gonna be delayed till October probably before we do those, September, October.
Well, if he comes back with a price increase before we do anything, I think we better speak with Andy because we do have a contract with him.
Yeah, I'll double check what the
And
contract says.
I'm not about to give him any more money because the fencing that he has in his yard has gone up from the manufacturer that he hasn't ordered it from yet. So
Yeah, let me read that and
let's
see how
just
long
be
that-
careful with how much
yeah,
he wants.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Denise?
No questions, just comment. I attended lobster night Friday. Unbelievable food. Everything was great service. The lobsters were spectacular.
Yeah, we got a new vendor. It's always scary with, they're doing a lot of substituting. And we've had a couple of things substituted, not so great, but I'm glad to hear that.
Ironically, they had seafood night at the golf club at the same time.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, you did not know.
We
And
did,
so
of course.
I think they had, well,
Yeah.
some people were sick.
At the golf club?
Yeah, that was the next that we heard about that. But I think we did a great job here. 8 o'clock, I saw people coming in here, and normally that doesn't happen on Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, they were lined up coming in.
That's
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of sellouts. It's
So you're
very
doing a
nice.
good job.
A lot of support. COVID's over, thank goodness.
Maybe.
Well, oh, one question, again, did we change purveyors or something for seafood and meats?
What had happened, one time we did, when we were having issues financially, but right now, we're just contacting and just trying to get the best deal that we can and we give them our desire, this is the quality we need, everything comes in different quality. And we're not lowering the quality on the meats or the seafood or anything like that, but we're trying to get the best deal. So used to be, we went with one purveyor because the prices were all the same.
Okay.
They're all over the place right now.
Okay. Keith, do you have anything to report?
Just a couple things real quick. We had a mailbox issue over here in Bella Vista. It looked like a war zone. Somebody hit the 4 mailboxes, and one flew so far, went down past another set of condos there. So within about 15, 20 minutes, I had new sets ordered, and temporary was supposed to be going in. But as of Friday, they got the brand new ones in, and they were set up and all hooked up, and so that's all good to go. It's all been paid for by the individual that ran into it. And
You did a great job with that. We were involved a little bit with that, and you handled yourself very, very well.
And then I have a couple.
Just for a point of clarity, supervisors, because Keith and I talked about this. The district has the responsibility of the maintenance of the mailboxes, but I don't think many of the homeowners understand that it is a federal offense to tamper with anyone's mail.
Right.
When we went through this whole mailbox project, we were not even allowed to leave the mailboxes, not even partially open. And a lot of the homeowners are under the misconception that because their mailbox may be down, because someone hit it during the replacement process, that the district employees are responsible for going to the post office or contacting the post office to have their mail forwarded elsewhere or to different locations. No, we can't do that. That is not something that we can do. Your mail is protected federally, and by tampering with mail, it is a federal offense subject to, crime and jail. So I wanted to put that on the record because I don't think a lot of homeowners understand that.
We had one homeowner that was very vocal about that, but Keith handled it very well, and it was all taken care of.
Super. And then we've had a couple complaints about the far end of Portofino.
Portofino.
And people coming and going down to the park, okay, at the end of
Mayaca.
Yeah.
Lower Road.
Lower Road, that road. And they're going through there, they're parking there at the park, going through, fishing on the lake, walking around the lake, and up on people's properties and those type of things. So I had a couple fence companies come out, give us a bid. I'm gonna have to get with Rick to see exactly where our property line is. But to get a 6-foot fence, some concertina wire over it, if we want to go that route. I did ask for a couple snipers to be at the end of there. We won't have that issue, but, and I'll take turns, but, but there's, it's from, like around $4,000 to $5,600. I've got another one that's around the $5,000 mark. But as soon as I get all that put together see what Rick wants to do, is this something you want me to continue to lean forward in? Or do you just want me to say, if they see somebody standing there fishing, let's just call the police. We do have a better working relationship with the police now about trespassing people when we call them that are fishing and those type of things. I had a sergeant out here that we already signed all the paperwork to get anybody that trespasses and those type of things. So, we can just table this, or
like what kind of footage are you talking about?
how far?
Yeah. I mean, is it something we're gonna put up a fence and they're just gonna walk around it?
Well, the way I went down there and showed them, you'd have to be you'd have to want to get in there.
Okay.
Okay, if you wanted to.
So the casual entrance will be closed.
Yeah, and I think it's 140 foot long, going from where it's pretty, it's pretty thick stuff to have to walk through it, all the way up to where the toilets are, and then it would go down to the.
Okay, that was my only concern. If we're gonna do this, that it'd be effective. If it's too
Right.
short, they're just gonna walk around it.
That's
Okay.
exactly right.
So,
I think, personally, I think you should continue, bring it to us.
I do as well.
Okay, well, I was talking to Rick and Linda Diamond, and they have a constant problem with people walking around, coming over to their property
Yes.
fishing, and then they sometimes walk down the street, I said on occasion, ringing doorbells. So I'm somewhat a security problem over in that area.
we have had some guys going around soliciting. We had one trespass the other day. Police showed up and trespassed him off the property. Then I had another one where he was a little more, and we had to escort him off the property and, he left. So, when we hear it, the guards do know, the courtesy patrol do know to call the police immediately if there's somebody fishing, all right? Homeowners should never approach anybody that's out there. They should call the security or the guards and let them handle it. They know what to do, to call the police directly, and then they'll be trespassed. So, but I'll continue with this. I'll get with Rick and we'll find out exactly where the property line is. We will have to do some cutting in there just to get it, so that these guys can get in there and put it up when that time comes.
Yeah, well, they can probably do that. The fence companies generally have the bush hog or whatever that cuts through.
Okay.
I think.
Good.
Good, we should
Very
continue.
good.
And then someone ran into the guard house top. Okay, I was behind them that day.
Yeah, no, yeah, that
With
was,
the truck, they tried to bring.
20 minutes
moving
after
truck.
that happened, I had the guy out here. It's
Yeah,
all
that
been
was
taken
good.
care of. It's all been paid for.
Oh, they paid
It
for it.
was Habitat for Humanity, thank you. And they were, can I write a check?
Yep.
Yeah, here you go. Take care of it with this guy
Very
here. And so that's all been
Good.
fixed and ready to go, so. Good.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, on my end, I will announce that the next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for
26.
Monday, July 26, 2021. Do we need to hold that meeting?
That's my question.
My opinion is we did well with a month, and we need to meet. It's up to you.
I
all.
would recommend that we do not hold that meeting. And our next meeting will be August 6th? 9? Now, and in August, we will definitely have the two because the second one is the budget meeting, but I would recommend that we don't meet on the 26th.
Second.
Okay, so Belinda, just give us the dates then for August, so we have those.
So for August, our meetings will be held on the 9th and the 23rd.
9 and 23.
Okay, and we're gonna plan on doing both of those.
Yes.
Yes, we will be doing both of those because of, one is the budget.
Yep.
And, yeah, so we will.
All right. So the 26th is officially canceled.
We're canceling the 26th. Okay, one reminder that I did have for the supervisors, our agendas are extensive. I'm sure you've seen the
Really?
pages. 263 pages. Putting together these PDFs, it takes a lot of work.
Right.
And, I understand that we're receiving stuff last minute. I hate last minute items because if I've already submitted the agenda to the website provider to be uploaded, then once it's scanned and it's remediated, they have to redo it again. And sometimes I will have to actually extract a document and send it to them so that they can try to place it within the agenda, but I don't trust their moving of documents within the actual PDF that we prepare. So I don't want to be a stickler to timelines, but I'm going to ask everybody, we place times and dates. I mean, I know on your part it's difficult with a lot of these vendors. They really take forever in submitting estimates at the last minute. We'll put it on the agenda under separate cover if need be, but what we'll do is we'll email the proposals to the board. It's, Andy has said that that's fine as long as it's on the agenda. We don't have to open it up for public comment if the board is considering taking action on them. But I really, really, really ask that you please adhere to the timelines because once I've submitted, I felt bad because you sent me that proposal. and it's totally not your fault, but Jerry also sent me his summary, and I had to tell Jerry as well, I will send this separately to the board, because I cannot upload it at this point, because I've already submitted it for upload. It's a process with the remediation, so if you have questions, or if there's something that you're not gonna get to me on time, let me know, and then we'll label it on the agenda as under separate cover, and prior to the meeting, we'll send you the documents that you need, and I'll bring hard copies just in case you don't bring them with you,
Sounds good.
okay?
Yes.
Sounds fair.
Supervisor requests or comments, are there any supervisor requests or comments?
I'm just going to make a general reminder to my fellow supervisors to please be careful as you're replying to emails. I got 2 this week from other supervisors that shouldn't be coming to me. And make sure that you don't reply all, because we're in violation of the sunshine laws when that happens. Now, these are minor things, but please be very, very careful and respond to, if you're doing it, to the person who sent you the email, not all. Okay? That's all I have to say.
I have a question regarding that. When we get emails, I'll receive an email, it will copy a committee, it will copy you, one other board member, Vesta people. And then, because it has all of those, I reply all, it's to a committee member, and nobody else is in the conversation. They're not responding, it's just back and forth. Is that a violation of sunshine when they're still on the copy, but there's no discussion between those extra board members, the Vesta, the committee members, et cetera?
The problem there is what he said is that it invites further comment and discussion, right? So a lot of times, they have that first bite at the apple rule, and that typically will apply to your board members. You as staff have a greater degree of latitude, but what you do have to watch is inviting those comments back, because that's where you're going to get the situation that he described, where you have replies from other committee members that are stating positions and that reply all. When I send out to like a board or committee, I will always put, please do not reply all for sunshine law considerations, big and bold across the top, just to remind everybody, that these communications are governed by law.
Okay, so that's
It's not technically,
yeah,
right? But it's that invitation for discussion that you gotta watch.
yeah.
So similar to how I reply to the emails, just take it from, you have it at the bottom of your email, put it at the very top and bold, red,
Yeah.
underline, that's how we do it. As a reminder, supervisors and committee members, please do not reply all.
And
Yeah.
I had never done that before, and I'm doing it now as a sort of a protective device thing where I'm getting lambasted with an email where some things in it aren't true, and I'm replying because well, here's the truth of it. And I shouldn't be doing that, I know, but I don't like all this negativity going out, and it's false. And so I started doing that about 3 months ago, and I know it's not that it's illegal, but like you
Right.
said, it is.
Yes.
It is inviting impropriety and violation.
Yeah, so like I said, it's technically fine,
Yeah.
but yeah.
With sunshine laws in mind, I know Ted Malkasian copied all of us on your meeting tomorrow and said, any of the supervisors like to come.
Yeah.
I reminded him, I responded to him saying that I'm not going to be able to attend, but only one of the supervisors can go. So if anybody else, I don't know if anybody's planning on going, but only one of us can be there.
Yeah, I told him we were restricted. Going, so.
So there'll be
Any other
comments?
supervisor? Mr. Clerk?
So,
Yes, it's Carl.
go ahead, Carl.
Go ahead, Carl.
Chairman Bracco, I've got a bunch of different medical appointments and things like that. And it does not seem likely that I will be able to fulfill my liaison function to the Social and Dining Committee. So I'm hoping you can line that up for the next several months.
So, Carl, I went last month.
You went last month.
And when is it?
The next one is this Wednesday
It is this one.
at 10 o'clock.
This Wednesday it's always the Wednesday after the first
Yeah.
meeting of the board in the month.
Yeah, I can't take this Wednesday, but I can take the rest of,
Yeah, and
the rest of the calendar year for you. But starting with August, but unfortunately, I can't take,
Yeah,
I
and I
can't take
can't
this
either,
Wednesday.
and I'm willing to split them with you if that works out, but I cannot make this Wednesday. And it is a good committee, and they really do appreciate a liaison being there. Kind of fun to go to.
Anybody available this Wednesday at 10 o'clock?
I don't know.
It's 10 o'clock.
What time Wednesday?
10 o'clock.
10 a.m.
10.
Carl, I'll go if I can. I don't know.
Thank you, Rick, I appreciate it.
Okay, and you're covered for the remainder of the year, okay?
Right, okay.
Okay,
great.
I'll
Carl,
take-
between you and I, we'll work here. Okay.
Any other supervisor requests or comments?
I have a couple. Carl, you know in that newsletter, the issue with the supervisors, they're wrong in terms of the names of them.
Steve, let me say, before we go into a lot of
We don't have to.
discussion on that, I'm working off a template that was provided by David Lustig, and I don't know, I had the right supervisor information on my initial draft. I don't know what happened. I'll get it straightened out today. And the other thing in that report is, in the financials, as you go down the page, they say 2020, 2021. They have to say
Right.
2021,
2022.
2022. So that'll all get corrected today, hopefully, and resent to everybody. If for some reason, if those were the only issues, I would send it to Keith, to fly spec it to make sure. I don't know what happened. But I'm working off a template, and it's,
Yeah, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying the wrong names were there. I would not want to see it go out that way.
And Carl, you incorporated.
And I
my
couldn't
comments,
respond to
right?
you.
I believe I did, because I resent it yesterday.
Okay,
for
I haven't
Saturday.
had a chance to see what you sent out, but prior to issuing the final, I'll review it, and if I have any questions or possible changes, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much, Belinda. That's
You're welcome.
And Jill collected the edits, Carl. She has them from the supervisors, and she's gonna drop them off at your house, I believe, later on today.
Okay. The second thing is, can you share, did anything go on with Victory and the gate? Remember, we had a discussion about they wanted a big increase, and you were somebody was gonna talk to them. Is that settled?
There's a fly.
You know, one flies.
Keith had an initial meeting with, I was unable to attend, but Keith met with Victory. And I think they've scaled down their request, and they know that,
They're working on it.
cognizant of it.
So it's all good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all good, but it's heading in the right direction anyway.
And then I just want to talk about the tiki hut for 30 seconds. The equipment design is done. We're happy with it. The facilities committee did not meet because of Elsa. We canceled the meeting because the club was closed. So we didn't have a meeting, but the design, the equipment is all laid out. The design is good. All that's been transmitted to the architect. He knows the footprint now is just the existing building, no extension of the roof. So we're still hopeful that this thing's gonna move along nicely.
Before the hospital opens.
Before the hospital opens. Yeah. Yes.
Any other supervisor
Thank you
requests or comments?
for mentioning that.
If there are no further supervisor requests or comments, it's 12:29 p.m.
I move we adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
right at the 4-hour mark.
All right. 112 agenda items complete.
3 hours. 3 hours.
The second on that was Ernest?